Good morning. We are live on Happy Friday, man. It's on. Oh, my. Phillies, Mets. Oh, Red October. Tomorrow, 4:08, Citizens Bank Park. Oh, man. What incredible drama. Welcome to the Anthony Gargano Show, brought to you by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. You got to go to TrueMark.com/PHLY to find out the credit union difference. This is going to be a damn monster movie. Yes. Hashtag OMG versus hashtag STFU. It's going to be, here it is. Here it is. There's the response. That's the response to OMG. Yes. Oh, it's going to be a great Phillies Mets. So last night, high drama in Milwaukee. We're all watching. I'm doing my whole scouting report on the Brewers. Chourio, Gary Sanchez, Contreras. I'm going through their lineup, the whole thing. And then there it was with Devin Williams, the Brewers closer on the mound, 2 on. And there is Pete Alonso going oppo boppo, as our buddy Tom McCarthy says. Oppo boppo. And Alonso gives the Mets the victory. Hits the 3-run bomb to right. They tack on another. And the Mets win 4-2 to stun the Brewers and set up the death match. Philadelphia, New York. Phillies against the hated Mets. And it sets up beautifully, right? So because of their wild card run, they had the doubleheader on Monday, right, which helped burn their pitching staff. And then all week long against the Brewers, the 3 games against the Brewers, it looks like the Mets are going to go Tyler McGill to face Zach Wheeler, Phillies rested ace, who's got something to say to the Mets who gave up on Zach. Zach became one of the dominant pitchers of the National League. And in 2019, the Mets had a chance. In fact, the Wheeler's agent called the Mets for one final offer, and there was no response. And Wheeler comes up red. Wheeler comes up red, and he becomes the Phillies ace. And you know how the story goes, right? So you know Zach will be licking his chops to get started in a game 1 against the Mets. Decided pitching advantage. I spoke to a scout this morning, and we were talking about Mets Phillies, and I said, well, hey, like, how do you see it? And he said, I'll quote, "The Mets stink. The Phillies have the advantage everywhere. The only thing you have to look at is, do the Mets have magic?" And it's crazy because you look at it and the Phillies do have advantage everywhere. The bullpen is a huge advantage for the Phillies, right? The rotation is a huge advantage for the Phillies. And, of course, you got the Phillies lineup, right? And the only thing that would scare me, obviously, besides the magic, and we talked about the magic, and we know about hot teams in baseball, and there's nothing that's ever guaranteed in that sport. We saw it last year play out. There was nothing, I don't know, we all felt the same confidence going into game 6 and 7 against Arizona at the bank, and we know what happened. So there's nothing guaranteed, but if you actually size up both teams, there's not one piece of that where the Mets are better than the Phillies. You look at lineup, that's the Phillies. You look at pitching, that's the Phillies starting pitching. Phillies in an overwhelming fashion. The bullpen, the Phillies in an even bigger overwhelming fashion. So the only thing that really bothers me, or not bothers me, the only thing that you have to be concerned about is certainly the hot team, and they were feeling magic. I mean, the fact is you're down to your last inning and they rally, facing elimination. They rally, awaken like a vampire, and they've been on this vampire run where they keep staving off death. They come out of the coffin, and they came out of the coffin last night in Milwaukee. So that's certainly something an intangible that you got to look at. And then the other thing is, the only thing I'm not in love with matchup-wise is the Mets junk lefties, right? Peterson, Minaya, Quintana. Quintana pitched last night, and he pitched a gem, shockingly, against the Brewers' right-handed bats. The Phillies don't do usually well against junk lefties. Lefties sometimes can give them an issue, and especially when they throw junk. And none of those lefties for the Mets have great stuff. So that would be the only thing that would give me a little pause. So just the matchup I'm not in love with. They should absolutely tattoo McGill, right? He's a perfect right-hander that's made for the Phillies. So I think that they should crush him. Game one, I mean, let's face it, Wheeler, McGill, I don't care how hot you are, Phillies have a big advantage. And the other piece of this series that I love, and really throughout the whole run, is you look at the Phillies back end, right? So obviously the rotation with Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez, and Ranger floating around for a game 4 or to be used out of the pen. But look at the Phillies' advantage when it comes to the pen, right? So you got all those back end arms that you can throw. Alvarado, Strahm, Hoffman from the right side, Kerkering from the right side, and then Estevez as the closer. I mean, that's a great weapon. That bullpen should be locked down, and that's going to be a big advantage. Phillies and Padres have the best pitching of the 4 teams, right? So that should be a real deal advantage going into this series. And not to mention that you got a Cy Young, other than Chris Sale, who's probably going to win it. I mean, Wheeler's right there and should get a lot of votes. I mean, he just had another tremendous year. I mean, his numbers are ridiculous, right? He gives you 200 innings. He gives you a sub-1 whip. I mean, he's only allowed, he struck out an average of 10.1 per 9. He's just been utterly dominant. So the fact that you get to throw him 2 games, and then look, Nola, I know everybody still gets a little weary about, well, there's one big inning and then the home run ball. But, he's been terrific. He had a great season. He's unflappable on the road. So, you got someone that he's a rock you can count on. And then you got Sanchez who's pitching well, and you got the lefty. And we'll see about Ranger for a game 4. But their pitching is a decided advantage. And then we didn't even get to the lineup, right? This lineup can mash. And we know the shortcomings. We know that every once in a while they can go silent. But I think they're poised for a great run. It's going to be great theater, though. Phillies and Mets. And as it turned out, I'm really happy that it's the Mets. It just adds for a lot of intrigue. You got holy wars on the West Coast and the East Coast, right? You got, Mets and you got Dodgers and Padres, and then you got Phillies, Mets, all within 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes of each other. It's 113 and a half miles from Citi Field to Citizens Bank Park. I mean, does it get any better than that? It's just going to be crazy. That ballpark tomorrow at 4:08 will be wild, absolutely wild. We know about the home field here. We know about that ballpark, how amazing and magical the ballpark is. I can't wait for it to get on their way. We got a lot of fun for you. Todd Zalecki will join us, MLB, coming up at 9:25. Larry Boa Damas will join us at 10. Charlie Manuel will join us at 10:40. We got you covered for this series left and right. And then a little bit later on today, we will do our Red October special. Jim Salisbury will be with me, and David Segui, MLB. He's been with a bunch of teams, including the Mets, who's a great baseball guy. And he's a big Phillies guy. He loves his Phillies team. He played for Charlie. He loved Charlie. In fact, a quick little note. But when Charlie got the job in Philadelphia, Segui called me up and was like, dude, you got to take care of the skip, man. You got to take care of Charlie. There's no one better than Charlie. So, it's going to be fun. So we'll get his insight. We got you covered right here. Now let's talk to our boys. JP, John Zapata, VG, Violations, Greg Caputo. Boys, this is unbelievable. I love you guys all ready for Red October.
Let's go.
It starts tomorrow, baby.
My velour. I only bring it out for postseason games. Nice. It's like black
Dude,
tie.
I just didn't even realize that.
Yeah,
that hat is gorgeous.
Postseason.
VG came ready,
Oh,
guys.
my God.
Ready to go, dude.
That is that, wine-colored, it's beautiful.
Silky smooth.
Feeling good.
All right, let's talk about it.
Hate New York.
Right? Hate New York.
Bleep
Hate
the
the
Mets.
Mets. Right? It's funny. I was talking to Mike Garafolo, who was going to join us today, the NFL Network reporter. And Mike, of course, is from South Philly. And he said, muck the Fets.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
He said, tell everybody, because I said, we don't need you today. We're going to be all baseball today. And he said, well, tell everybody I said, muck the Fets. All right.
It's still a shock it took till 2024 for us to get the series, man.
Yeah. I mean, look, we talked about it during the week that when we thought the collision would happen, that the two teams have never been good at the same time. The closest was 2007 when they were in a race.
Yeah.
And Jimmy said, Phillies are the team to beat. And, of course, they did. They won that series and wound up playing the Rockies, and we know the rest. But that was the beginning of that ascent.
I want Jimmy throwing out first pitch tomorrow.
Great
They got
call.
to have one of those guys, Jimmy or Chase.
Yeah,
Gotta
I'm
throw
in
out
on
first
Chase.
pitch tomorrow.
Dude, I love it.
Chase is in London, probably hard to get him over here. But
No,
Jimmy's
Jimmy's got to be – he has to be the guy.
Yeah.
The guy who authored we're the team to beat has to be
I'm with
the guy
you.
to throw the
Totally with you
I
there.
love Jimmy throwing out the first pitch.
It is. I don't know. They got vibes. Their vibes stink. Grimace stinks. Hot Tua girl stinks. Their fans stink. I looked at
OMG
They're
stinks.
17th in attendance this year. A New York team is
Can I ask you a
17th
question?
in attendance.
How in the world did Hawk Tua girl become a Met?
She threw out their first pitch, I guess. I don't know. She's all part of this whole world thing they got.
Yeah, the Mets hopped on
She's
that
not
train.
even from
OMG. You know what that stands for now? Out,
Yeah.
Out, Mets, go. I'm tired of this OMG nonsense, dude.
Well, you like my response?
yeah, I love it.
Hashtag STFU.
Love it.
All right.
Hamburger over the
Shut
grimace.
the bleep up.
Yeah.
All right.
That's right.
I mean, give me a break.
Over it.
It was funny. My cousin said to me
week.
last night, we were talking about the Mets, and he said, you know what? He goes, that team is corny.
It is.
They are
They're
corny.
corny to the
Grimace?
core. Yeah. It's not even Hamburglar.
I know.
Right? Hamburger is cool. Grimace, weak.
Yeah, Julio Iglesias singing and playing whatever he plays up there.
They're corny, but they've always been corny. Queens is corny, right? It's
Yeah.
not Manhattan, like Manhattan.
Queens is corny.
Right? It's not Manhattan. And
It's like-
the Mets, like, say what you want about the Yankees, right? But the Yankees are regal, right? The Mets, they're trash, right? I mean, let's talk. Let's be honest. The Yankees had this for the Yankees. We're
I get
regal,
it. Right.
Right? Championships, the whole thing. Bronx is cool, right?
Yeah.
The Mets are everything opposite the Yankees.
You know they got a Grimace seat? They have a purple seat in the outfield. It's like a lucky Grimace seat. They've painted
Dude, that's
purple
amazing.
now.
They're trying everything.
Yeah, they really are.
All right, they're trying everything. They got voodoo dolls, right? They got astrologers.
Yeah.
And they need all that help because, like I said, the scout that I talked to this morning, you guys were there. I was talking to him, and he said the Phillies have advantages everywhere.
Everywhere. I had these stats say runs per game, Phillies are better. Starting pitching ERA, Phillies are better. Relief pitcher ERA, Phillies are better. OPS, Phillies are better. It's all around. I mean,
Yeah.
the Phillies don't have a flaw really. The Mets, their bullpen is mediocre. And I mean,
At best.
they have
And-
holes in
and-
that lineup.
And even
Henry
like
Winkler,
Diaz,
we're worried about now.
like
Come on.
Edwin Diaz, right?
Shaky year.
He is.
Yeah.
He's been shaky. He had that one great year, got the big contract. He's a shaky closer, right?
Yeah.
The Phillies bullpen. I'm sorry, like the Padres is great. So is the Phillies.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. Hoffman's terrific. So you got right side with Hoffman and Kirkering, and you got left side with Alvarado and Strom.
Yeah. Alvaro's
Like
trying to
I
find himself.
trust Strom The Stromboli is a lockdown,
Love the
dude.
Stromboli.
You know how Carlos Estevez too, man.
I mean, you got.
I mean, we got the best rotation, or the best 1 or 2 rotation, the best 1 or 2 bullpen.
Yes.
Pitching wins.
Yes.
I mean,
And it's not like you got a feeble lineup, right? You got mashers
Right.
Yeah.
in this lineup.
The only thing to be concerned about with the Mets is the bats, but we have our own bats that can answer for it. So I mean, the Met, like you talked about, VG, the matchups just steer in the Phillies' way. Like I just don't see how the Phillies lose this series.
No, I mean, listen, you got to go into it with, understanding, like, teams are hot.
Yeah.
We've seen,
Like Skip
again,
said.
there's a lesson from last year, right? And the lesson is, because there's no way in the world, I still only know how they lost last year to Arizona at home in those last 2 games. The idea of them pitching backwards. The only thing that would scare me, and I'm, again, when you're looking and sizing it up, is the Mets do have some trash lefties, and those trash lefties can give the Phillies fits.
Yeah, they just got to be patient on those guys. And, Alvarado, I am fired up. He's locked in. This is a picture of him recently about town. He went to Mitchell and Ness and bought a Phillies jacket, the newest Philly jacket. He didn't get it for free. He went and made a purchase. He's ready to go.
That's clean.
I love it.
That's a clean jacket.
I love that. That's a great jacket.
Yeah.
It's a nice jacket.
Yeah, that's a great
One
jacket.
of those.
Yeah, their bullpen. They got 1 lefty out of the bullpen. Once that's used, Danny Young, and he's
No,
Danny
I
Young.
know. The Phillies, again, the advantages, when you look at it, are abound. They're on paper. They're dramatic advantages. Again, it just goes back to the baseball, the mysteries of October. October is filled with mystery, right? It's that month. It's the month of the occult, right? It's things that are unexplainable.
Let me run this by you. Matt Deckard in the chat says Saquon throwing out the first pitch. We took your running back and now your souls. I'm okay
Dude, that's a
with
great
that,
line,
right?
dude.
I'd be okay
Dude.
with
That's a
that.
great line.
Wow, man, I love that. Oh my God, man, that's unbelievable. Oh, that's beautiful. I'm going to write that down.
Souls, dude.
I love that Barkley throwing out the first pitch too.
Yeah.
Jimmy, and go Jimmy Sunday.
Yeah,
Barkley
either or.
tomorrow.
I think you
vice versa.
started off with
Jimmy.
We're the team to beat.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
And then you go Barkley Sunday.
Yes.
Sunday football day.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Like so, you go Jimmy first. You go Jimmy Saturday.
Absolutely.
Barkley Sunday.
Yep.
You hear us, Phil. You hear us.
I think. Well, I'm going to text them in a
Yeah,
minute.
do it.
And see what they got cooking.
In all seriousness, though, cuz Saturday, you have to start off quick because a team that's hot like the Mets, you need to start that game off quick and get some runs on the board.
I think
I'll be honest with you, though. Honestly, I don't worry about tomorrow. I mean, I don't. And you got such a big advantage. You got Wheeler, right? You got Wheeler against McGill. I don't see. And again, we think it's McGill,
Right.
It could be Peterson too. He pitched last night, but it could be his day to pitch. Sometimes
I'll take Peterson on short rest.
well, he's not. I mean, it's not short rest because the guy's throwing the side, right?
Yeah.
So it could be his day to throw on the side, and so you pitch. That's not uncommon in the playoffs, where you can throw on the side and then pitch 2 days later. You're going to do it anyway. So, but we think it's going to be. We keep hearing McGill. We'll find out either way. You got Wheeler going, so I don't think it's a stress on the bats. Like you got to jump on them. Like if they were playing the Padres, I'd tell you got to jump on them, right? The Mets, I mean, they have a decided advantage.
I mean, the Mets are a team. They get that one big inning. That's their MO right now. They got one big inning for 4 or 5 runs. The biggest thing for me is Nola's got to avoid that. Whatever game he pitches, he's got to avoid that. And we have Wheeler pitching probably 2 games a series. So you have Wheeler going 2 games out of a 5-game series. I mean, it don't get much better than that.
Yeah,
And they'll both be at home.
right. And here's the other thing too. Like when you're looking, it's a 5-game series, right? Which always kind of usually favors the underdog. But like you said, the decided pitching advantage, the fact that you got Wheeler throwing twice out of 5 is a big deal, man.
Yeah.
And let's talk about Zach for a second, because he's become, the ace, unparalleled ace of this staff.
Yeah.
Cy Young candidate. I mean, other than Sal, he would have won it in a landslide. And he's got something to prove, man. He's got an axe to grind, man.
Total axe to grind.
The fact is, the Mets gave up on him.
Yep.
I love that you brought that up this morning too. That whole history with the Mets.
It's a big deal.
That's a huge blunder because he's ridiculous.
Well,
they can use him right now.
They had all those guys, right? And they screwed up. I mean, DeGrom, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Matt Harvey.
They wound up going with, spending big money with Scherzer, right?
Yep.
They brought Scherzer in and, had the flop, and they chose DeGrom. He flopped out on him, right? So, the Wheeler thing was a big deal. And if you're Zach, you go, I can't wait to toe the rubber against them.
Yeah. Stick it to them, Zach. Stick it to them.
The heater's got to have some life for the first few innings with him. I would think he's got to be juiced
The
up.
only thing you worry about, but not with him, because he's got a really good demeanor, is, emotions and when you overthrow.
And one other factor with this weekend in the series, that crowd's going to be insane. Oh, I cannot wait to see these scenes.
Oh, it's going to be amazing.
Inside, outside the ballpark.
There's nothing like October in Philadelphia. I say this all the time, but I remember A-Rod talking to A-Rod about this, and he was like in love with Citizens Bank Park. Oh, my God. He's like, dude, you got to get me on your show so I can tell these people how much I love them. He was in the outfield. When Fox had the set in the outfield with Frank Thomas and or Poppy, and he was like telling everybody how much he loves them. Yeah. He's like, I never experienced this. And you're talking about a guy at the old Yankee Stadium. Yeah, and that was a great atmosphere, but it's not close to what happens at Citizens Bank Park.
It's taking over the whole state. Like, I walk in the dog this morning, mother loading up her, 5-year-old kid. No red on. Loading her kid into the car to take to school, and a guy across the street walking his dog. No one's got red on. But she's like, oh, good morning. And then she says, go Phils. Yeah. And he gives a go Phils. And they're not even, everyone's on go Phils. And I know that the Mets landed in town. They are here now. They're going to be about town today. Let them have it. They're going to be walking around, eating. Let them have it.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. That's my barber yesterday when I left. Go Fightings, Tom.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible, man. It really is. Looking forward to it. All right, lots to do today. We got a lot of Philly stuff to cover for this series. We got you inside and out. JP started us off before we go to Todd Zalecki. And let's hear from some of our friends.
Absolutely. Well, because I know everyone's allergies going to be ramping up here today because there's one thing that Phillies fans are allergic to, and that's the Mets fans. That's the Mets, the Grimace, all of it. OMG, Iglesias, we're all allergic to it. So our friends over at Rite Aid, of course, are going to have us covered with everything we need with allergies. And believe it or not, even in fall, even with the temperatures drop a little bit, you could still receive some of those symptoms that allergies come with. And so, I know for myself, change of seasons always kill me. Whether it's summer to fall, fall to winter, winter to spring, does not matter. My allergies are always going to ramp up. So I always need my local Rite Aid to stock up on everything from medications, that nasal rinse. All that stuff is extremely helpful for this time of year. And even better, Rite Aid always has us covered. If you're a Rite Aid Rewards member, you get those emails sent to you with all those coupons and promotions. But even better, they'll send you the pollen levels. So before you head outside, you can see exactly what the pollen levels are going to be like in your area. So visit your local Rite Aid here today. Stock up on allergy relief or catch up on immunizations for RSV, shingles, and much, much more. Walk in or schedule a vaccine appointment at riteaid.com. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of year. It's fall allergy season. So make sure we are stocking up on our allergy relief. And while we're at it, listen, I know you know as well, that floor, it needs to be changed. All right. I know it's going to be a busy, busy weekend here. So it's going to be tough to find some time, but find that time to fix those floors. And only, of course, with our friends over at Empire Today, you'll be able to get that brand new floor that you've been seeing for the last 30 years. It is time to change it. And what I love about Empire Today, listen, it's an extremely competitive field in the flooring business, right? You believe it or not, it is extremely competitive. So what Empire Today is going to do is that they want to be trustworthy with you, right? Other companies, they're going to advertise low quality flooring that they just simply won't do because Empire Today is going to give you the best quality only because they want that floor to last for a long time. They want that good quality as well. And of course, they have us covered as well. Right now, do not wait. Schedule that in-home estimate today, and our listeners can receive up to a $350 off discount. That's right, $350. That's a lot of dough, all right? So make sure you use that promo code PHLY to receive that discount. Keep in mind that restrictions do apply. visit empiretoday.com/PHLY. That's empiretoday.com/PHLY for more details. Make sure you guys are fixing that floor, and shouts to our friends over at Empire Today.
All right. Thank you, JP. Let's get to it. Busy day. The media schedule for the Phillies is Topper talks at 3 o'clock today. So we'll learn about tomorrow. I'm thinking he's going to go Sanchez game 2 and Nola at Citi Field Tuesday in game 3. Wheeler's going to talk today at 2:45. JT at 3:15. So we're looking forward to that stuff. Let's go. The guy who covers the Phillies, who does such an amazing job. I love him. From MLB.com, he is our friend, Todd Zolecki.
Yeah.
Todd. Happy Red October,
How you guys doing?
brother.
I'm doing good. How are you? You guys all right?
We cannot wait. Last night was amazing.
Crazy.
Condolences to your brethren out there in Milwaukee.
Yeah. My parents did not handle it well.
I'm sure your father, my God, you're down, you're ready to go, and then Alonso, ridiculous. Oppo and they're vampires, the Mets.
They are. I texted my dad afterward. I said, "How you feeling?" He's like, "I have no words," was all my dad said. So there's not too many games where I'm watching on TV. I'm like, holy bleep.
Yes.
And that was, I'm sitting just kind of watching the game, chilling out. My kids were in bed, and I go, holy bleep. It was, Pete Alonso was pretty bad the last couple weeks.
Real bad. My buddy Boo texts me, he goes, man, Alonso needs a moment right here. And I can't believe it. He got it.
One of the funniest things was on Twitter last night, he was trending, and a lot of the stuff was like before he hit the home run, and it was a lot of Mets fans saying, can't wait for him to go, time's up, I've had enough of Pete Alonso, I don't need to see him again, this guy comes up small, blah, 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 and it just is hilarious because 5 minutes later, guy hits like one of the biggest home runs in Mets history. Wild. I'm with you too. It was that moment where you're like, oh my God. I don't even say that.
Oh, no.
I don't want to say that. It was like, holy moly. Because they look dead in the water. I'm watching the game, and I was making all my notes about the Brewers. I'm, Churio. And
I was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I was doing the same thing, Ed. I'm putting together, like, going through the Phillies matchups versus the Brewers this season, how they fared against certain starters. And then I'm like, all right, better get this guy. And I was like, oh, all right, throw that away. Start working on the Mets.
Right? It was uncanny. And I'll be honest with you, I love it. I love the fact you got a holy war, Dodgers, Padres on the West Coast, and then one on the East Coast with Mets, Phillies. And it's never happened. We've talked about this before, Todd. They've never been good at the same time. And they, in all due respect to the Braves, the Mets and Phillies, that's the biggest rivalry.
Yeah, for sure. They've had some run-ins the past few years. You think about like Jose Alvarado chirping in the Mets dugout a couple times. He hit a couple guys a few years ago. I know he's not with the Phillies anymore, but Rhys Hoskins hits a home run. He does like a minute and a half stroll around the bases and just a lot of the history. But you're right. They've never been good together. I think Scott Lauber from the Inquirer said like only 10 times in 63 years have both of these teams had winning records in the same season. Wow. That's pretty incredible. I mean, they've never been good at the same time. They've never played each other in the postseason at the same time. The fan bases hate each other already. And so it's going to be interesting, how many Mets fans can get their way into Citizens Bank Park? How many Phillies fans can get their way into Citi Field? What are the crowds like? I don't think the Mets are going to be intimidated coming to Philly because they're so familiar with the Phillies. They've had some success against them late this season. There's a lot of things that if you're a Mets fan, you're loving right now, but I think there should be a lot of things if you're Phillies fans. If you're a Phillies fan, you go, okay, I like the Phillies' chances because of Zach Wheeler, because of the starting pitching, because overall they have a better bullpen. Offensively, I think they're a tick above the Mets. But it is going to be a lot of fun, and there's going to be a lot of a lot of people are going to be tight if things don't go their way early on in one of these games. You know, when that'll make it fun as well.
I was funny. I was talking to a scout buddy of mine this morning, and I go, how do you see it? He goes, dude. He goes, the Mets stink, right? The Phillies have advantages everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But the only thing is the mystery of October, right? October baseball is mysterious.
It is, and it makes you really appreciate what the Phillies did the last 2 years, getting out of those wild card rounds, because it's 3-game series. Anything can happen. The White Sox can beat you in a 3-game series.
The Tigers can beat the Astros.
The Tigers can beat the Astros. Yeah, it's pretty wild. So, but yeah, the Phillies are the better team. It comes down to the Mets the Mets have been playing great baseball for several months now, and they're a hot team and they got some mojo. So can you defeat the mojo? Can you bust out the mojo? The best antidote for that is Zach Wheeler in Game 1, in my opinion.
Totally with you. Can you go back into the history of Wheeler and the Mets? We remember with the Mets, Wheeler gave him a chance to counter and never heard back.
Yeah, they didn't hear back. And what's funny is the year he was a free agent, he signs with the Phillies, of course, and there was a lot of like, Zach Wheeler, really? He hasn't really put it together yet. I mean, 100 over whatever it was, 118 million or whatever the first deal. Boy, that's kind of I don't know. Philly said, listen, we think there's a lot of untapped potential there. Then the following spring, Mets reporters go up to former Mets GM Brodie Van Wagenen. And Brodie Van Wagenen says, well, we're glad that we could help him parlay 2 good second halves into a 5-year deal with the Phillies or whatever it was. Ooh. And it was like a little bit of a shot at Zach Wheeler and the contract he got. In other words, like, guys hurt a lot. Guy's inconsistent. Congratulations to Zach Wheeler. We don't think we're missing too much here with Zach Wheeler going to the Phillies. I mean, the guy's only been good a couple times in his Mets career, and boy, Zach Wheeler shoved it up everybody's butts up in New York and all around Major League Baseball for that matter. He is arguably the best pitcher in baseball, one of the top 5 for sure, and one of the top postseason performers ever in the history of baseball.
And the beauty for him is, like, revenge is right on the table, and it's like a big, juicy steak towing the rubber on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Zach is great. He's very even-keeled, but I'm sure there is some motivation there. I mean, he just wants to win a World Series. Yeah. He wanted to win a Cy Young this year. I don't know if he's going to fall short of that or not, but, he's somebody you feel really good about him on the mound because he has a lot of like Roy Halladay in him, a lot of the
Dude, I was
pitchers.
about to say, he reminds me of Doc, man. Big power. He throws that heavy ball that's hard to barrel up.
Yeah, and the thing about like Roy and Zach Wheeler is if you watch them on the mound, if he's getting blown up or if he's shoving 8 scoreless innings, if you said, this video here, tell me if Zach Wheeler's pitching good or not. You'd be like, no clue if he's pitching well or not. He never shows emotion, and that's a key thing for Zach. If an infielder gives up an error or whatever, he doesn't react really, and that's the good thing about Zach Wheeler.
So, what do you think? Topper talks today at 3:00. Do you think? I feel like he's going to go. He's kind of hinted at it that he looks like he's going to go Sanchez on Sunday, Nola Tuesday at Citi Field. Is that what you're hearing?
That's the vibe I got from him the other day. Rob doesn't like to tip his hand too much, so when he does kind of tip his hand a little bit, you kind of have to read between the lines. And so I agree. It really sounded like he was setting up Christopher Sanchez to start Game 2. We know the splits. He's got an ERA over 5 on the road. He's got an ERA just over 2 at home, and whether you believe there's something to it, that he just, I really like pitching at home and I really hate pitching on the road, or maybe you think maybe it's just all a coincidence. Whatever it is, it's there, and Rob Thomson has acknowledged that much. And for that reason, I think if you're going to set up this rotation, you want to put everybody in their best, give them their best chance for success. And I think Christopher Sanchez's best chance for success is pitching at home in Game 2. And because what you don't want to do is start Aaron Nola game 2, and you can make an argument for it. You put your best 2 most seasoned pitchers in the first 2 games. But what happens if you split or you're down 0-2? Now you have Christopher Sanchez going game 3 going, and maybe this thought creeps into his head. Man, I have not pitched good on the road all year.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
I have not pitched good on the road all year, and now I've got to go out and save the season. So for that reason, I like the idea of having Christopher Sanchez pitching game 2.
Totally with you. Totally with you. What do you think? We're hearing McGill. What are you hearing from the Mets side? Is it going to be McGill? I know Peterson threw yesterday, but that could be his day on the side. You probably could go back to him if you wanted to.
You probably could, but yeah, Anthony DeComo covers the Mets for us at MLB.com. He heard the same thing, McGill. And so he's a right-hander. The Phillies have fared pretty well against those guys this season. Although he has pitched really, really well since he came back. I was writing down notes, and he was 2-0 with a 2.32 ERA in his 6th start since he rejoined the Mets in late August. So he's been throwing the ball well. But the Phillies, they're better against left-handers. They fare a lot better against left-handers, but they can now. They have some options with the lineup that they can load up on lefties if they want to, and try to attack that platoon advantage. So, but it looks like McGill for game 1, but again, that's a great matchup for the Phillies. You want Wheeler versus the Mets number 4 starter.
Oh, totally.
4 or 5 starter. Yeah.
When you look at the matchups, like I always thought that junk lefties were the worst matchup for this lineup. That obviously they're a dead red team, but guys and the Mets with Minaya, Quintana, who pitched last night, and Peterson they're all kind of similar in that they don't have great electric fastballs.
Right. Yeah, they certainly gave them a heck of a lot of problems late in the season. Minaya was just dealing. They had trouble picking it up. In that last series in New York, the Phillies did have a lot of chase. They did have a lot of swing and miss. And that kind of, even before this playoff, these 2 teams meeting the NLDS got set up, a lot of people are going, oh, man, Phillies Mets, it could be a problem for the Phillies, the way they've taken some swings up at Citi Field. So, yeah, you're right. I do think, though, that the Phillies I think what the hope for the Phillies is that they learned a lesson from the NLCS last year in terms of trying to make everything happen on one pitch.
Yeah.
You don't need to chase. All you needed to do was watch the Phillies Mets series and go, wow, it's amazing. You put the ball in play. You have a couple quality at bats. Some crazy things that happen. You don't chase. You work a leadoff walk. You put the ball in play. Now you have 2 on for Pete Alonso, setting up his heroics. So I think the Phillies have had that on in the back of their mind. I don't think they're going to. I think you hope that they don't press because of it. But I do think that they have in the back of their mind, we don't need to be heroes every single at bat. All we need to do is have good quality at bats, pass the baton to the next guy, which they did not do in New York late last month. But if they can kind of get in that mindset, I think they can get to this team.
No, I know the Phillies were 7-6 against the Mets during the season, but 3 of those wins came in games that Walker started.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that because that was something I looked up. I was looking at the team Phillies pitching overall performance against the Mets this season, and I was like, wow, they have a 4.08 ERA against the Mets. But then I looked at this: Taijuan Walker, Colby Allard, and Max Lazar. If you take them out of the equation, those 3 guys, and you're talking about Taijuan. One of those guys might be the last man in the bullpen, and if one of those guys pitch in this series, that means something's gone horribly wrong. But if you take out Walker, Colby Allard, and Max Lazar, the team ERA against the Mets this season falls to 3.25. So you're right, Ann. That was great pull by you with the Taijuan Walker numbers. I mean, he got obliterated by the Mets this season. So you take away, and I know it's tough to cherry pick, blah blah blah, but you really. Those 3 guys, they're not going to be facing the Mets this postseason unless something horrible has gone wrong. Zach Wheeler's pitched well against them this season. Christopher Sanchez, 3.06 ERA against them this season. Nola's kind of been up or down, but this is the strength of this team is the rotation.
And
they should do well
with Alonso because of the guys that have given Nola trouble. He's hit 5 home runs lifetime off Nola. Interesting because he's kind of handled Nimmo pretty well. Nimmo's got 2 off him, but he's struck him out a bunch of times. So he's kind of handled the lefties.
Yeah, he has, and I like Nola, his history of early postseason success. He's pitched well in the early rounds. I mean, the later rounds, not so much. But the Cardinals a couple years ago in the wild card series, he pitched great. So I like him on the mound in Game 3 in New York. We talked about Zach Wheeler having some Roy Halladay vibes. I have the same feeling about Aaron Nola, not in terms of overall dominance or career or whatever, but Aaron Nola really is unflappable. And I think him pitching in Citi Field, if it's loud in the first few innings, I don't think that's going to bother him. I don't think same thing. Have you ever seen Aaron Nola get angry or mad or upset or, look frustrated on the mound or whatever? Post game, you can't tell if he's pitched 9 scoreless or given up 8 runs in 3 innings and 4 home runs. So I think that serves him well, against this Mets lineup.
Hey, Todd, you in your piece you did this week, you had mentioned one of the things you pointed out was the difference versus lefties of Stott and Sosa. Do you foresee a platoon coming there?
I do. And quite frankly, I'm sure Rob Thompson can make an argument for not having a platoon and throwing Stott out there, but every little bit is so important. Every little edge in the postseason is so important. Every at-bat is so important. And so Sosa's OPS against lefties is, I think, over 900 this season, or certainly over 800. He's had some really good at-bats against lefties. Stott struggled. He's struggled all year. He's really struggled against lefties. He hasn't hit the fastball real well. And so I think if you're going to put out your best lineup every day, it has Edmundo Sosa at second base against a left-hander. And so I would go that way personally. I think Rob has a lot more options this postseason at second base and in left field and in center field. If he wants to go different ways, he can be more aggressive with the bench this postseason. Last year, he pinch hit for Johan Rojas only twice all postseason. And I know that drove people nuts, but I was in the press box in some of those games and people are going, why are they not pinch hitting for Rojas? I'm like, with who? Christian Pache?
Right.
Right. And he could maybe have given you an incrementally a better at bat, but incremental. I mean, Christian Pache, lifetime hitter, 181, OPS just over 500. Could you have pinch hit Jake Cave? Yeah, I guess you could have done that. But this year now you've got, if Marsh and Rojas start in center field on Saturday, Game 1 lineup, which would make sense because Zach, we only have a great defense behind Zach, but now you have Austin Hayes. You have Weston Wilson. You have Cody Clemens. Depending on how the roster gets set, you could have Cal Stevenson if he makes the roster over Weston Wilson. So now you have options where you just feel a lot better about what they can do and how they can match up going into this series.
Do you think Marsh starts over Hayes?
So if it's McGill, I would say Marsh starts in left, and I could see Johan Rojas starting in center because, again, I think in the last couple starts at with Wheeler on the mound, I think Rojas was in center field, I believe. So I do think they like the defensive aspect there, and so I do. I do see that defensive alignment going. And again, if Rojas gets off to a bad start offensively, now they can actually go with some guys that can have a legitimate chance of getting a hit. So I do think that's a possibility.
Yeah, I agree. I think you got to go Rojas. I think, yeah, I know people get frustrated by it and are all about the bats. Defense, man. Playoffs, defense is paramount. I mean, think about it, right? McCormick in for the Astros makes that catch, right?
Yes.
Otherwise, the Phillies probably win the World Series.
Yes.
We can go through. Castellanos had a couple big plays in the outfield.
Yes.
You need leather.
And the outfield at Citi Field is so much bigger than it is at Citizens Bank Park. And when you have Castellanos and right, you want to have a couple guys that can run down some balls on left and center. But you're right, the defense is huge. And Rojas has had better at bats lately. But even if it doesn't show up in slugging percentage and on base percentage, He's bunted the ball a couple times and been successful with it. And in my opinion, if the other 8 guys in the lineup are doing what they're supposed to do, and I'm not saying all 8 of them have to be hot, I'm saying if most of those 8 guys do what they're supposed to do, you can live with Johan Rojas hitting 9th for the Phillies if he's going out and running down balls by Monty's angle in left center field at Citizen Bank Park, or running down a ball in the gap in right center field at Citi Field. So that's why I would personally lean towards Rojas.
I'm totally with you. We see it the same way. So I see it the same way with the lineup. I mean, and against lefties, you're going to go Hayes and you'll save Marsh for later, because the other advantage the Phillies have is the Mets have one lefty in the bullpen, and he's not very good.
Yeah, they do. Danny Young is the only guy they have in the bullpen. He's been okay. Not very good. So that's another thing to consider going into this series. So they have some options there. So I would think maybe with all those right-handers, boy, it's going to be interesting. I will be interested to see how they set up that last bench spot. Do you put Cal Stevenson on the roster? To me, Cody Clemens is a lock. Do you go with Cal Stevenson over Weston Wilson because of the bullpen situation? You want to have another left-handed bat possibly, and plus you can also then play Cal Stevenson in center field in a situation like that. So, they have some options, which is nice.
Yeah, brother, it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be fun, man.
Series.
2 fan bases that hate each other, 2 teams that don't like each other, a lot of history. It's going to be intense. People are going to be taking the train up and down, and so I really am looking forward to it. I know some Phillies fans are maybe a little nervous about it, but come on, this is the Major League Baseball has got to be doing backflips, like you said at the top. Phillies, Mets. And then Dodgers, Padres in the National League, get out of town. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's the greatest. It really is. We'll be bugging you often. This is the
problem,
best, man. Enjoy it, pal.
Yeah. Thanks you very much.
The great Todd Zalecki. Love it.
Yeah, a little bit of his, he's from the Milwaukee area, right?
Yes.
Get out of town.
Yeah.
Came through there.
Yeah.
Did you notice everything, VJ? I love it.
Get out of town.
Yeah, he's the best. He's the best. All right. This portion of the program brought to you by the BetParx Online Sportsbook and Casino. Let's quickly go to our man, the ambassador, the Brain.
Brain. Red, the Brain Finder.
Good morning, Brain.
Oh, good.
Hey, good morning. How are you, buddy?
Yeah.
Well, we're ready, man. Phillies, Mets, buddy. This is going to be awesome. I talked to a scout friend of mine this morning, and he said, listen, Phillies have advantages everywhere in this series. The only thing is the mystery of October is the only thing you need to worry about. From a baseball standpoint, it's not even close. From a betting standpoint, what are you looking at?
I actually agree. It's not even close. You got to like the Mets, Anthony, and I'm going to tell you why. Last 100 games of the season, I didn't say last. I think the Phillies will win. Yeah. You said, but I think the Phillies will win the series, yes. But from a pure betting number, I think the number's too high. For 100 games, Anthony, I didn't say 10, I didn't say 20, I didn't say 40. For 100 games, the Mets have the best record in baseball. The Phillies should not be close to a 2-1 favorite in a short series. They're the better team. There's no question they're the better team. But do they win this series 2 out of 3 times? I'm fairly certain when I say this. Almost 100%. No, they do not win this series close to 2 out of 3 times. There's I'll say a 0% chance they win this series 2 out of 3 times. They should win, but with the series price what it is, I'm right now on Parks, Anthony. I'm looking. They're $1.82 to win the series. That means they got to go 18-10 to break even. Think about that. They win 18-10 against an average team. That's really good. Against a team that's the most wins in baseball the last 100 games. That's just really not doable, in my opinion. I think they'll win. Let me stress. I think they'll win. I think they're the better team. I know they're the better team. But, Anthony, that's a huge line. That's and you just said it, the unpredictability of baseball. It's so random. Look at the Brewers yesterday. You have arguably the best closer in the league in the 9th inning.
I know. I hear you. But,
I think they're going to win. Anthony, I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win. Remember saying it again. They should win. They're the better team.
You're just saying. Here's your delivery. Just tweak your delivery a little bit and say that I like the Phillies. The Phillies should win. The price is too high. So just say
price is too high.
All right, you cut your mic off in the chat room, Brad.
I'm going to say this though. I got to tell you, I was torn. Like I only have two future. I bet before the year, I bet the Reds, which was a trash bet. Okay. The only other bets I made during the year, I bet the Mets to win the pennant and the Padres to win the pennant. But I was huge odds. But I was torn watching that game because I want the Phillies to win. I'm rooting for the Phillies.
They're asking us to start this interview over.
No. I'm rooting for the Phillies. I was very torn because the Brewers, to me, I think the Phillies are way better than the Brewers. The Brewers, I just don't see it. The Mets, I think they have a tough team, Anthony. I do. And I think the Phillies against the Brewers.
Well, you don't think the Brewers I'm going to push back with you a little bit. And look, I know that since June they got hot and they played well. But the Phillies have a decided advantage in pitching. The Mets are going to try out Tyler McGill in Game 1 against Zach Wheeler. All right? Wheeler's going to go twice in a 5-game series. All right? And this is some of the numbers I kind of push back on. And I look at the bullpen. The Mets bullpen blows, dude. They got one lefty in there. Diaz is a good closer who's overpaid. He was really good a couple years ago, right? Versus the Phillies that had 5 back-end pieces. Estevez. You go lefty with Strahm and Alvarado. You go righty with Hoffman and Kerkering. I mean, that's a huge advantage. And we haven't even talked about the bats.
Anthony, listen, if they played this series 100 times, I think the Phillies probably win at 60. They're the better team, but it's a short series. It's It's the random. Look, Arizona. Who was better, Philadelphia or Arizona last year?
I know. We talked about the lesson of October. I brought it up a couple times. Nobody's counting chickens. No
question the Phillies are better.
We're not counting chickens, but the matchup on paper, baseball. I just think the Phillies have a decided advantage. And I talked to a scout this morning who said the same thing. His quote was actually, the Mets stink. That was his quote.
You wouldn't have felt better playing the Brewers, honestly?
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think the Phillies are much better than the Brewers. The only thing that gives me pause, there's 2 things that give me pause. The mystery of October, which is the Magic, right? And they're like vampires. And the Mets throw trash left-handers. And trash left-handers give the Phillies fits.
For whatever reason. And I agree with you on that, Anthony. I think that's a real thing. Look, I'll tell you a bet that I did make, which I really like. I love this bet. I bet Zach Wheeler over 17.5 outs.
Okay, good.
Again, I did it with Scooble. No, I did it with Scooble. I did it with Reagans. There's 3 pitchers I'll do it with. These are the only 3. Zach Wheeler's going to pitch 6 innings. He's going to pitch 6 innings. He will get his 6 innings. He's the best pitcher on their team. He's their ace. He's their guy. I can't see a world in which he doesn't go 6 innings. I love that bet. I'll bet it every day of the week and then some. I agree. In a best of 5, having him twice, Anthony, a massive edge, which is why the Phillies should win. But I just think the price is a little bit too high, like you said, I should have phrased it.
Okay. Let's go other series. Who do you like? And any games your individual games from the card? Obviously, Dodgers and Padres is awesome. Yankees, Royals. I think the Royals are dangerous. And the Tigers are dangerous against Cleveland.
Listen, Anthony, again, what the Tigers have done is nothing short of remarkable, right? Like, we're seeing a team that has no offense, no second starter. Third starter. They don't even have a second starter. And what they've done was they just every single bullpen guy just throws 1 scoreless innings. Like the Rays started this phenomenon, whatever it was, 10, 15 years ago, whatever it was. And the Tigers have just taken it and really made themselves good. That being said, I do think Cleveland beats them. I think Cleveland has a huge edge in Game 1 of this series with Tanner Beebe going. I think he beats them twice in this series. I don't know if they're going to pitch Scooble twice. I don't. I think Cleveland wins this series, and I'm looking at the series price right now, Anthony, on Parks. Cleveland's minus $1.30. I do think Cleveland does win that series at least 13 out of 23 times. I do. I think they're better than Tigers. I think they get home. Padres series, Anthony, listen, Great series. Series price is 152, take 125. Only way I can look is San Diego. I think this is a dead 50-50 series.
Yeah.
Coin flip, and they played it 100 times. I think it's pretty close to 50-50. You want to give me plus 125 on a coin flip, I'm going to take it. I think it's going to be I think it'll be a 5-game series. Could go either way, but I think it can go either way, but I have to take the Pods.
I like the Pods. Yeah, I like the Pods.
And the other series, Anthony, listen, it's interesting. Look, the Yankees should win, but minus 215. I mean, that's pricey. That's just very pricey in a best of 5. The Yankees aren't that good.
No,
they're just not that good.
They're not that good.
They're really not.
I mean, outside of Judge and Soto, I mean, Chisholm's all right, but that lineup's not a scary lineup.
No, and this is not the Garrett Cole, right, that we had the previous 8 years where he was arguably the best pitcher in Major League Baseball. They don't really, and again, Cortez is now hurt. They don't really have, again, when I look at their team, I'm like, it's not that good. So I would say I think the Royals are a very live dog. I think the Royals are very live in every game. Not that they're that great, but again, the National League is so much better. I know you're going to disagree with this. I think the 4 best teams are in the National League. I think the Mets are better than anyone in the American League too. I think the 4 best teams are in the NL. I think the AL I like
the Royals. I like them more than you do. I know they went cold down the stretch. But I love Witt. I love Perez. Pascantino's back. He's a lefty. He gives you something. I like their team. And Reagan's your boy, who's fantastic.
Yeah. Anthony, they're tough. They're tough. And again, the Yankees are just not that good. Again, and to me, easy side for me is the Royals. Easy side. That line should never be minus 215.
Hey, all right, quickly run through your football bets. We got about a minute. So
you got
the weekend, run through your plays.
College. Anthony, I like Louisville or SMU laying 6.5/7. Hopefully you can get the 6.5. I like Arizona over Texas Tech, laying less than a touchdown. I like Baylor against Iowa State. They're getting like 11.5, 12 points. I think they can win the game outright. NFL, Anthony, I love on Monday night. I love the Saints. I think they beat the mighty Kansas City Chiefs outright. And I love the Packers laying only 3 points against the Rams, Anthony. I think that's just way too short of a line. I think that's a good team against a bad team. I'll take it all day.
Yeah.
And I like Denver laying 2.5 against the Raiders.
And you like Denver. Perfect. I'll give you – I like Syracuse tonight against you.
I like Syracuse too.
I think Syracuse is very live. McCord makes a difference for them. They can move the ball.
And I like the over as well, Anthony. You're going to be saying over. Probably is going to win because I usually am very biased towards the unders. I like the over in tonight's game as well.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Brain, thanks, brother. We'll talk to you on Monday. Good luck.
And I do think the Phillies are going to win.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Thanks, buddy. Right. Appreciate it.
Start off hot. We got to get as a soundboard a boo. That boo.
Yeah. The Brain, of course, is our ambassador. And let's talk about it because he's the ambassador for the BetParx Sportsbook and online casino app. Make sure you download it. Again, series prices, the game. You could play with it like you can go Wheeler -1, right, to bring down the price. You can go Wheeler -2, right, or 1.5 or 2. You could do it to bring a higher odds. Like I love the Phillies tomorrow. Game 1, they're going to come out. You just know it, right? They're going to come out strong with behind Wheeler. All the games, I do like Kansas City. I think they have a chance to upset the Yankees. And all the football that Brad talked about, you can bet it right there on your phone. And don't forget, while you're watching all the games, they have all the best online casino games as well. Live blackjack with a live dealer, right? So you have a live dealer playing some blackjack, roulette. You got VG, loves his baccarat. You can do that. While you're watching the game, you can play your casino games and online slots. So you want the Peaky Blinders one, which is a lot of fun. Check it all out on the app. And in fact, you're a new customer, you get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. BetParx.com has all the details. You got to be in PA, New Jersey, Ohio, Michigan, Maryland. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Tell us about Glad.
Oh, I love the people over at Glad Hair Restoration. So I know what it's like to be follically challenged, being hat dependent, worrying about combing your hair just right to hide your thinning hair. Don't be like me. Check out our friends over at Glad Hair Restoration by Morgenstern Medical. Established by the late Dr. Paul Glatt, now part of the Morgenstern Center under the direction of renowned plastic surgeon Dr. Ken Morgenstern. Dr. Morgenstern and Dr. Glatt shared a remarkable bond where they worked on critical research together over years, and they were friends and colleagues. So what makes Glad Hair Restoration by Morgenstern Medical better? Well, first of all, they're honest. If you're too far gone like me, they'll let you know they can't help you. They got each member of this team is exceptionally trained with over 30 years of industry experience, and hair restoration is all they do. Anyone can buy equipment and say they do hair restoration, but only Glatt offers decades of proven results. And Glad Hair can help you during all stages of hair loss with leading-edge treatments like laser light therapy and non-invasive TED treatments. Each patient receives a complimentary one-on-one consultation to pinpoint your best course of treatment, and a patient advocate works with you from the first phone call to the last one. Glad Hair isn't just about restoration, it's about innovation. This breakthrough treatment really does dramatically change lives. Change your hair, change your life. Bald is now optional. If you want to prove how you look and how you feel about yourself, Glad Hair is the right treatment for you. Regain your confidence. Visit GladHairMCTR.com or call 610-980-4000 to get started.
All right, buddy. This portion of the program brought to you by Rite Aid. So get all of your scripts, flu shots, goods, last-minute stuff around the house. You can find it at Rite Aid. RiteAid.com is where you find us. That's right. Now, knowing that this series is a monster, there's no person that I want to hear from, right? There's really only two that I want to hear from, and they're both best friends. All right? Let's go to the one, the only, Boa Damas.
Yeah. Let's go.
Bo,
all right.
It's on, man. Phillies Mets.
It's going to be a great series. It's going to be a great series. That was a great game last night. But, I've been with this team for a while now. They've had a chip on their shoulder the whole year, and I don't see any kind of upset at all here. The Phillies are hitting on all cylinders. I went to the exhibition game or the inter-squad game they had. They played with a lot of intensity. They're ready to go. They're healthy. They're ready to go. And we probably got the best pitcher in baseball starting tomorrow. We'll see what happens. But I have a lot of confidence in this team right now.
Yeah, you feel the same way. And you look at the matchups, right? It was funny. I was talking to a scout buddy of mine today. He's like, dude, he goes, the Phillies have the advantage everywhere, right? Like, it's nothing that we don't know. But he's like, listen, the Mets aren't really impressive. In fact, he goes, the Mets suck. He goes, they don't have the Phillies advantage every. So if you go through it, right, the rotation is obvious. The bullpen is the biggest dramatic advantage that the Phillies have. Back end, you got 5 guys that you can go to, where the Mets bullpen's not very good. We saw them blow game 2 of the Milwaukee series.
I agree with that. We have a big advantage, in my opinion, on the bullpen. And the other thing that their bullpen doesn't do, they don't hold runners at all. We can steal bases. That's going to be a big factor. We get some guys on. I mean, Diaz has great stuff down there, but he's like 1.5, 1.6 going to home plate. Doesn't want to change his windup. Thinks it takes off a lot of velocity off his fastball. So if we get guys on, which I think we will, we're going to steal every chance we can. And it's so important to get that extra base when you're talking about playoff baseball. You can start moving bases and getting guys in scoring position as opposed to laying down a bunt, steal second, get them over to third. I just all these signs point to Philadelphia. Like I said, I've been with these guys. They're on a mission, and it would shock me if the Mets win this series. Yeah,
I mean, I know we talk about magic and the magic of and the unpredictability and the mystery of October, but sometimes the baseball thing has just too much to say about it.
The talent on our lineup from top to bottom is unbelievable. I mean, we have depth. I know the Dodgers swing the bats good at San Diego, but I'm talking about from the leadoff hitter to the 9-hitter, we're deep. And then our bench, the way Rob's used our bench, we have a lot of guys we plug in. If there's a tough lefty coming in to face a lefty, we have that. A right-hander sitting on the bench waiting to hit. Or, like you said, our bullpen to me is head and shoulders over almost all of them. San Diego's got a good bullpen. I will give them that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I just we got a great start coming up. Wheeler goes deep into the game. You might not even have to go to the bullpen. If you do, maybe use one or two guys. The Mets, they've been using guys out of the bullpen the last couple of games. They have to be tired. They've been on the road a long time. And the other thing, there's home field advantage for every team, but there's not the bank kind of home field. No. They have no idea. They have not been in playoffs. We have not played a playoff game against the Mets. They have no idea what they're stepping into coming in here. And the fans, believe it or not, are going to be an integral part of our success moving forward.
Listen, you were Mr. Philly, right? And you've been here forever. You're other than a couple stops. Phillies and Mets have never been good at the same time. It's bizarre, right? Like how this whole thing, they've never met in the playoffs. Like, we love the rivalry. I mean, you were up with the Yankees with Torrey for a while, and you saw it. But Phillies Mets it's a great rivalry, man.
It is. It's real good. And the fact that two storied franchises have never played together against each other in the playoffs, that's amazing. When I heard that, I really didn't think about it, but when I heard it, I went, that's unreal right there. Because, at times both teams have had real good baseball teams. It seems like when the Phillies are good, the Mets aren't good. When the Mets were good, the Phillies weren't good. So now you're getting two Titans getting ready to clash head on. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fan interest from New York and as well as Philly. I don't believe you're going to see a lot of Met fans in the stadium tomorrow. I think our guys, our fan base, they're keeping their tickets. And if they do give them away, if they have something coming up, they're probably going to give them to their neighbor or something. But I don't see a lot of Met fans coming in here.
No, I'm with you.
I'd be shocked.
You've been involved in so many Octobers. What's the greatest message that you can deliver to players when it comes to October, where the game dramatically changes?
Anth, I think the biggest thing, and we have guys that can do this, you got to slow everything down. And we have a veteran team that has been through this. The Mets haven't been in a playoff. They can sit there and talk about, we got to slow the game down, we got to do this. Until you actually go through it, we can talk about it all we want. But, you take a look at our lineup. I mean, you're talking about Harp, you're talking about Schwarber, you're talking about JT, you're talking about Trey Turner, Casty. I'll go all the way down. We got guys, even our young guys, the last couple of years, Stott and Bohm, they've been in it. There's a difference if you've never been in it. And I think it might have caught up with Milwaukee last night. They couldn't slow the thing down. The momentum just kept going. And there's a lot to that. You can say, I got it. I played in big games. These are big games. You got to pay attention to detail. You can't give away outs. You can't let runners take extra bases on you. Keep double plays in order when you're supposed to keep double plays in order. Don't make a double play ball that's not a double play ball. There's so many tangibles there that you got to keep your head in the game. And every out is important. Until you get 27 outs, the game is not over. These are momentum shifts that happen at the spur of the moment. The walk to Lindor last night was huge.
Yeah.
They get the first out of that inning. Who knows? We'd probably be playing Milwaukee. He battled. He got a walk. Then Nemo comes up and gets a base hit. And then the big hit by Alonso. I mean, before you know it, before you blink your eyes, you're down. Yeah. So you got to pay attention to detail. You got to pay attention to runners at first base who can run. I think we can steal. I think we can take extra bases on this team. Is it going to be a cakewalk? I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk, but I am not even worried about the Mets right now. I'm not. The two teams out west are good teams.
Yeah.
But right now, obviously, our concern is the Mets, but I have all the confidence in the world in this team right now.
Yeah, and I'm with you. And it's funny, you brought up the walk last night to Lindor, and you saw it with the Astros against the Tigers. That Presley got in trouble with it, and then Hader got in trouble with it. Right? Like you come in the game, you just can't walk guys. Like you're in a bull reliever. I remember Dallas used to say that all the time. It used to drive them nuts. Like the last thing you need to do when you come into a game is you walk a guy.
Yep, especially when the game's on the line. I mean, hindsight being 2020, Milwaukee would have been better letting Lindor hit a home run then. Yeah. Let him hit a home run. It's 2-1. Bases empty. Let's go get the 3 outs. The fact that the walk created traffic. Now he's got to watch the runner. Now he's got the top of the order coming up, 2, 3, and 4. You get the relievers that come in late. You got to pitch ahead in the count. You get these hitters now in the big leagues that are hitting 2-0 and 3-1. They're going to do some damage. It's when I say get ahead, I don't mean to throw a ball down the middle. Make a quality strike on the inner half or outer half. If you want to go up, go down. Use all 4 quadrants of the plate. But you cannot put a guy on to start an inning off. That's going to come back and haunt you. And if you go back into all the stats and everything, you're going to see during the course of an inning, a walk started everything. And as you said, Dallas Green hated walks, hated him.
Oh, he used to get nuts. I remember.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. His face would turn red. He'd start barking.
He put his fat hat on top of his head,
Just curious about the one thing that gives me a little pause when it comes to the lineup is this lineup not great against those like soft lefties, and the Mets had 3 of them, and Minaya and Peterson and Quintana, who pitched last night. Do you think the guys from last year and the Arizona situation getting pitched backwards, you think that'll be patience and that'll translate to some? It's kind of front lobe of the brain.
Yeah, that's been the mantra since spring training. Swinging strikes. We got to make those guys that don't throw real hard get in the zone. They don't overpower you. They stay on the edges, and you can't early in the count. You can't go after a good sinker down and away. Make them get to the middle of the plate. Don't try to pull everything against them because you'll be hitting ground balls to short and third. Stay in the middle of the diamond. Stay in the middle of the diamond. Know, in the words of Charlie, know thyself. If you're not a home run hitter, get on base. Get on base and let the big boys handle the heavy lifting. I mean, that's how baseball's played. I go back to 80 when Pete says, "Hey, get on here against Nolan Ryan. We're going to win this game." Before you know it, we got a couple of guys on, and bam, we turn that deficit into a lead against Nolan Ryan. It's hard sometimes because the adrenaline's flowing. You want to get up there. You're anxious, but you got to stay patient. And I think the experience that we've had the last couple of years is definitely going to pay off. People don't understand how important experience is. And you can have all the veterans you want in that lineup with the Mets. They have not played in a playoff game in a long time. So it's going to be important that they're going to have to slow the game down. And with our fan base, good luck. That's all I'm saying. Good luck.
Mr. Boa, we all know New York is a terrible place, a miserable city. It even forced you into retirement. You spent 1 month there and you decided you needed to retire from baseball. Would you mind if I went into your Wikipedia page and just delete the mention of you as a Met? Can we just forget about that?
People ask me, did you play with the Mets? I don't even remember it. I said, well, I got picked up at the end. They probably wanted to use me as a utility type guy. But I don't remember anything about that. I really don't. So that's erased.
It's not true.
That's erased from my mind.
That's too good.
That's fabulous. Erased. It was like Harold Carmichael and the Cowboys. It never happened. Yeah. It was erased from the back of the card. Right?
Exactly.
Hey, just curious, when we look at Wheeler for a second, because you've been talking about him. I mean, we all year we've been singing his praises and glowing over him. How much you think he'll enjoy the fact that the Mets did not offer him a contract? I mean, that was a real deal, and now you get to stick it right up their gigi.
He will never, ever admit that. I guarantee it's in the back of his mind. The fact that they never even offered him one contract. And I don't think he needs more motivation. but this is definitely in the back of his mind saying, "Oh, okay, you guys wanted to let me go and test free agents, and I did, and now I'm going to haunt you right now." And this guy, and with the exception of one game that I can remember, the game we played in Williamsport, when we had to go in the World Series, we played. I think we played Baltimore. I'm not sure. I don't know who we played, but that was the worst game I've ever seen him pitch. I think he gave up 4 or 5 runs early.
Yeah.
Other than that, I have not seen him get hit around. Even when he doesn't have his A1 stuff, he knows how to keep you in the game. He's got fastballs that go both ways. They go away and in onto right-handers. He's got the slurve. He's got the cutter. He throws a changeup. Too many weapons. And if you're going to try to hit him, you better focus on one pitch and don't foul it back. Because if you're trying to cover all his pitches, that's going to be a long afternoon. There's no question about it. And I do think, I don't know what the forecast is. It sounds like it's good. I would prefer no shadows at 4 o'clock because it really comes into play for hitters.
Yeah.
But if the sun's out, I think the first 3 or 4 innings, it's going to be tough to hit because the shadows are very difficult. It's tough to pick up spin. And so I'm looking at that 4. I hope it's cloudy and nice, and we'll let our big boys whack the ball around the yard a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be McGill for the Mets, and I love that because I love again start with a right-hander with our left-handed bats. Especially him, I think we match up well.
I do too. Like I said, I like the opening matchups. I really think that. Well, I don't like to say it's a sure thing. I respect the game of baseball.
Yeah,
I'll take my chances with Wheels on the mound on the first game here.
What's the similarities? Because I watch him and I think Halladay. I always do. Why do I see that? What's the similarities between Halladay and Wheeler?
They throw strikes. They have more than one pitch they can throw for strikes. They can pitch behind with a breaking ball. They don't have to, when it counts 2-0 or 3-1, a lot of hitters sit on fastballs down the middle. This guy still uses the outer half and inner half with different pitches. He's got complete control out there. He never gets rattled. He can hold runners on. He's a total package. That's what your number one does. And he's a very competitive person. And I think he has a little extra adrenaline going because of the fact that he's playing a team that basically said, "Thank you for your services, but we're gonna move on."
Yeah,
and I want to thank them for letting him move on.
Yeah, he's tough to bat. Like Doc was always tough to barrel up, and Wheeler reminds me it really is difficult. The ball seems heavier, if that makes sense.
It is. It does make sense. It makes a lot of sense. It's like hitting a bowling ball. It's got it bores in on you if you're right-handed. He can make it go away from you. He's got pitches for every hitter, left-handed or right-handed. His biggest thing at times, sometimes, he overthrows a little bit. He'll walk a couple guys. But if he's painting the corners and doing what he's supposed to, this guy, he's not throwing 92, 93 now. He's throwing 97, 98. Right. That's hard to square that up. And I know the Mets know they're in for a tough afternoon. There's no question about it. What they want to do is keep the game close if they can. Because I don't think, just watching this thing unfold, Thompson's been very good about letting these guys go up to about 100 pitches. So if I'm the Mets, I'm going to make him work a little bit. But on the other hand, you can't sit there and take pitches and before you know it, it's 0-2.
Yeah.
So there's a happy medium there, and they got to find out what works. Because I'm sure they would love to get him out of that game by the 6th inning.
Oh, totally.
And, of course, the Phillies would like to go at least 7, maybe a little bit more, because I think our bullpen is much deeper than the Mets.
Oh, yeah. What about it looks like, and Rob will talk today, but it looks like he's going to go with Sanchez in Game 2 because of the home road splits, which I love. I just think Sanchez is perfect here. How do you view him, in this stage?
This kid's really come on a lot since last year. I mean, he's got a lot of poise. Tom's made a good point. I was talking with him. He didn't know at the time. He says, I'd like to split up Sanchez and Ranger, because having two lefties in a row gives the other team pretty good looks. So if you can split them up, but I will say this: this is just me talking. If by chance that the Mets beat us game one, I think Nola would pitch game two. That's just my opinion.
Wow.
And I have no inside info on that.
No, yeah, of course.
Because it's going to be a must-win for us if we happen to lose with Wheeler. If we win with Wheeler, I look for Sanchez. Again, this is just my opinion. I look for Sanchez to pitch game two. And it really doesn't matter where Nola pitches.
Right.
He's been in every environment you can possibly think of. He doesn't get rattled. And I know for a fact it doesn't bother him when he pitches. He just wants to go out there and compete. And I think he'll do that very well. But I think the key here is us winning game one with Wheels. Then, then you can go with Sanchez at home, where the splits are really – he's got close to a 5, maybe a little bit over a 5 on the road, and he's in the mid-2s at home. So that's a big difference there. And I think he would be more comfortable pitching in front of the home field. There's no question about it.
What's been the key to his ascent? Is it the velocity? Because now he's up to 97.
I think his ability to get his secondary pitches, the changeup is unbelievable. And, when you have a good changeup and you're throwing 96, 97, it makes it look like 106.
Yeah.
He's another pitcher. You got to pick one or the other. You can't go up there and say, I'm going to try to hit the changeup and I'm going to hit the fastball. Now, until you have 2 strikes, you got to sit on one of those pitches. And if you get it, don't foul it back.
Right.
But he has the ability. They come out of the same tunnel, the fastball and the changeup. He had great command with his changeup. He holds runners good. Like I said, he's matured more than anybody I've ever seen in a uniform in 1 year. And it's fun watching him pitch right now.
With the Mets being like the hottest team in baseball and everyone's talking about their vibes and stuff, you, as a manager, is that something you would address to the team? Like, how would you handle that, or just totally ignore
it? I'd ignore it because momentum is 60 feet, 6 inches, and we got a big horse on the mound Saturday. So I don't care if the Mets won 20 in a row. They got to face the best pitcher in the National League as far as I'm concerned. And it's not going to be an easy task, believe me. I'm glad I'm watching. I wouldn't want to hit off of him.
Hey, and last thing while we got you, brother, talk about Pete for a second and this week. And I know what he meant to you, and let's talk about him as a player.
I can't ever remember playing with anybody that played with more intensity than Pete. It didn't matter if you're playing the last place team, a playoff team, a World Series game. If he's 5 for 5 or 0 for 5, he never gave it bats away. He instilled that in our whole clubhouse when we got him. I really believe Pete and Dallas were the main reasons that, besides our young talent that we had that came up together, those two guys pushed us over the edge there and put the icing on the cake when they came over here. It's a shame that the off-the-field stuff with Pete has stopped him from getting into the Hall of Fame, because that's all he ever talked about. He lived, he ate, slept, everything was baseball, baseball, baseball. And to do what he did in a baseball uniform, no one's going to do that. I don't care. You could have the greatest players, Ohtani, you can name them all. To get over 4,000 hits in 20 years, 20-plus years, you're talking 200 hits every year for over 20 years. That's first of all, I don't think anybody's got enough money to pay somebody to do that. And but he just his positive attitude, no matter what the score was, no matter who we were playing, no matter if you're up 5, down 5, keep grinding. You're up 5, get up 6. You're up 6, get up 7. You're down 1 or 2. Let's go. We can win this game. And just little things, intangibles that you can't teach. You can't teach that. That was in him. He's played that game since he put on that uniform. Everyone thought it was fake the way he ran to first when he first came up on a walk. He did it 25 years later. He kept doing it. He might have been the best base runner. He wasn't fast. Going first to third, his instincts on the field were unbelievable. There's really nothing he couldn't do on a baseball field. And talk about an IQ for a baseball player, his was off the charts.
Yeah. What tangible wise how did he like help you guys learn how to win? Because we always talk about that, like how he brought the winning culture to you guys who had been buzzing around Cincinnati Dodgers twice, you know.
Well, we played them a lot. We got beat by the Big Red Machine and the Dodgers, the two good teams. People say, "Oh, you guys, you didn't do what you had to do," but those teams were good.
Yeah.
When Pete came over here, he helped Mike Schmidt probably more than anybody. Schmidt would very humble person, and he'd be sitting there, and I remember one game we were playing, and Mike didn't know anything about the pitcher that we were going to face. And he was sweating and everything. And Pete went up. He said, "What's wrong?" He goes, "Man, I never faced this guy before." He said, "I don't know what to look for." And Pete said, "Schmitty, this guy's scared. He knows you're in the lineup. You're hitting third. Are you kidding me? He's over there shaking like a leaf. Don't worry about it. You're better than anybody." And he kept telling the whole team, when we played you guys, yeah, we beat you, but we were scared of you guys. We respected you guys. Even though they kept beating us, he says, we knew we had to fight. He just kept telling guys how good they were. Most of the guys knew we knew we were pretty good, but we need that extra shove. We all came up together. We learned how to win together. We learned how to lose together, and have a different voice at that time, I think was a perfect scenario for us to take this to another level.
That's beautiful. All right, last thing. Bo Adames says, how many games?
4. I had it 3, but I'm backing off a little bit. It's going to be 4. I don't see Wheeler pitching 2 games here. I see him pitching game 1, and I think we're going to wrap this thing up in 4. And then I hate to say this, but I don't want to make anybody mad. The Dodgers are going to have their hands filled with the Padres.
I think the Padres win.
The Padres, their bullpen can. I would say their bullpen. I'm not saying they're better than us, but they can match up.
Oh, yeah.
Their starting pitching's better than the Dodgers. Dodgers have some thump, no question about that. I think that the Padre defense is better. Their depth is better. I'm calling them a Padre Philly. Two big time play teams getting to the World Series. And I'll make that prediction. I already know my prediction, but I'm going to watch this thing unfold.
Yeah, I'm with you. Did you see the other night? I love that kid Jackson Merrill. Oh. He took Fried. Now, Merrill's a lefty, for people who don't know, and obviously Fried's a lefty. He took Fried dead center field. The pit was a triple, and he hit it over the center fielder's head. It was a great piece of hitting.
He's unbelievable. He's 21 years old. People don't understand. He was a shortstop. They put him in center field in spring training. He's such a good athlete, and he hasn't skipped it. He made a great play in center on Soler in that 1-1 game.
Yeah.
That ball could have very easily gone over his head. He can run the bases. He can steal bases. He's got pop in his bat. He's an elite outfielder. He's a great athlete.
Yeah.
But again, you go into spring training and he's taking grounders at short, and they say, "Hey, we already got a shortstop. Why don't you try center field?" He goes out there, and the rest is history. Unbelievable. Yeah. And I know Skeens is going to get a lot of votes, but in my opinion, this guy's Rookie of the Year. I mean, you play that many games, and I think he's got a lock on a Rookie of the Year.
That piece of hitting, I was like, damn, Fried's hard to hit. Fried's good. And you're a lefty, and he's tough on lefties.
Well, he hangs in there. He hits left-handers as well as right-handers.
He really. That lineup is. It feels like it actually is pretty balanced, more balanced than it was.
Well, you know what, Anthony? When they got Ariz, I know the analytics don't like him. He doesn't grade out. This guy gets on base, man. He makes things happen.
He does.
This is 3 batting titles in a row with 3 different teams. Come on now. I don't care what the analytics say. He's a pain in the butt. You got to keep him off the bases because the big boys coming up behind can do some damage. But
I'm with you.
He's definitely turned that team into a team that was, they're okay, to a real good baseball team.
Yeah, I'm with you. Bo Adames, we love you.
All right.
Thanks, pal.
Right. We'll be talking after this round with the Mets, and we'll see what happens.
I love it. Thanks, brother. You're the best. The great Bo Adames.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That's just fantastic.
Say Wheeler's going to haunt them. Get the big boys to whack the ball around the yard.
I love what he said. I know the Mets are hot. It was a good question that you asked. I know the Mets are hot. I don't care if they win 20 in a row, but they can't beat. They have to face the Wheeler, face the big horse. Yeah. Oh my God!
Hot, but you got to get hotter.
Yeah, that's right. And the words of Charlie, who will be joining us about 10:45. He's at the doctor's, so he'll be joining us about 10:45. We'll talk to Charlie. A couple things that we want to tell you about. First, let's talk about Parx Casino. Yes. Hey, weekends coming and night out. Like tonight's a good night to go out.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. A little calm before the storm. Mm-hmm. Head on over to Parx Casino, Pennsylvania's #1 casino, right there in Benson. We love it, right? Street Road exit off of 95 and the PA Turnpike, and all the great things that they have. I mean, you want to talk about great nightlife. They have the Excite Center with all the best acts, comedy acts and musical acts, the whole thing going on, right? So you have that. You have the Parx Steakhouse, an elite meal, the Beer Garden, the Noodle House. That's one of our favorites, right?
Man, I'm all about the noodles.
We love the noodles, right? But, of course, the Poker Room, the Sports Book. It goes on and on and on. It's just a mecca of entertainment. So I'm telling you, do yourself a favor, and this weekend, make sure you go to Parx Casino and have a blast, as always. Great acts. In fact, your man is
Bret Michaels
is coming.
Every rose has its own.
Right. Patti LaBelle's coming.
Hey, sister, soul.
Right. TLC's coming.
Waterfalls.
Yeah. I'd love to give you a little Waterfalls accent. Check out ParxCasino.com for all the great acts coming in, and they get tickets. And for all information, if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. And let's talk about Rothman. I love Rothman Orthopedics. I was telling you about how I had an Achilles issue. And, I'm thinking surgery. All right. I go to Dr. Pedowitz over at Rothman, and he says, no, let's not cut yet. He goes, let's try something. So he put me on these nitroglycerin packs. Now, the reason why these packs, they stimulate blood flow. And so I had it right around my Achilles, and the Achilles is not a place that has a lot of blood flow. And so it stimulated the blood flow. And the next thing you know, I had a boot on, right? Took care of it. And 6 weeks later, it was healed. No surgery. Didn't need it. I mean, they are amazing, Rothman. I got to tell you, they have a specialist for each body part, which is incredible. You're a weekend warrior, all right? Rothman's got you, all right? They practice specialized care. It's been their passion for over 50 years. High quality, compassionate, affordable care rooted in research. Research leading to new treatments, better outcome, right? Each Rothman doc is laser focused on their specialty, hip, knee, spine, you name it, right there. Rothman Orthopedics, and they specialized in you. So make sure you go check out Rothman. And now joining us from Rothman, and I love him, all right? In fact, I know he's rooting Phillies because he is the incredible doctor for the Phillies. And of course, he is one of the best. He's the chief of sports medicine for Rothman, Dr. Michael Cicciotti. Doctor, good morning.
Hey, Anthony.
Go Phils, baby.
That's right. You got it. That's right. It's the best time.
It is the best time. I know you're excited. It's fantastic. First of all, I just want to thank you guys because you guys are amazing. I have countless stories of how Rothman has helped us weekend warriors, including myself. I told Dr. Pedowitz helped me get through my Achilles injury. And friends, knees, hips, I mean, you name it. You guys put us back in action.
Well, thank you for that. I mean, I would tell you that, we're so honored to be able to take care of people. And, you spoke to it that just so much goes into these issues and problems that occur, and doing research to make better the treatments that we have so that we don't always have to treat things with surgery. We can treat them non-operatively, and your testimony to that. I mean, that's what it's all about. So we're so honored to be able to do this for people and get them back in the field.
Yeah, I mean, and you guys are amazing. And it's so easy for, some people to prescribe, well, we got to do surgery. And it's like, no, let's exhaust the treatments that are right for you, that we think. And, it's about the patient. That's how I always feel, man. It's truly amazing.
I mean, you're spot on, Anthony. And I would tell you, just from my time taking care of the Phillies for 30 years, I would tell you that probably 95 to 97% of the injuries are very well treated non-operatively. And that's really part of this. So you're right. Like, just doing what you can for an athlete to get them back onto their playing field, onto the court, onto the slope. I mean, that's what it's all about. So it's very humbling and exciting for us, but and to get to take care of these athletes that do this most amazing things, right? It's just incredible.
Now, I know we're going to talk about Christian McCaffrey and what's going on with him, but I gotta switch up just a second with you. The beauty of today's medicine and today's care and the what's going on is that we now can be athletic and active into our 50s and 60s and even 70s. It's amazing what's out there.
It's incredible. And again, in the 30 years I've been doing this, I've seen it evolve from, very, now when I look back, sort of primitive ways of treating these things. And now it's just incredible. You spoke about with your Achilles tendonitis and some of the non-operative treatments to increase blood flow, biologic treatments, and there's so much research focused on it and understanding what athletes do. It is just incredible what these athletes do, the stress they put their bodies through. And we tend to think of it in very tangible ways, musculoskeletal ways. It's torn, it's damaged, we have to repair it. But one of the other things that's really important here, whether it's Christian McCaffrey or it's AJ Brown or it's Devontae Smith or Lane Johnson, any of these athletes, particularly thinking of the Eagles, it's not just the musculoskeletal part, Anthony. It's like the psychological part. Like if you love what you do, right? You love what you do. So imagine if I said to you, you cannot do this for 6 months. And you know what that would do for you, right? The emotional, psychological impact of having someone who can do something at the highest level and then they have to stop for a period of time. So we as researchers and medical providers are learning about the psychological aspect of it, getting these athletes, keeping them in their game while they're rehabbing, whether it's from surgery or not, and then preparing them to get back. And so the psychological part of it is maybe one of the most amazing things more recently that we focused on in terms of sports medicine.
That's fascinating. It's so interesting because you talk about the evolution, and you guys at Rothman where I was just talking about research. You're always about the research and about the forefront of the technology. Think about it. ACLs, we talk about Achilles. They were death knells to athletes. You got an ACL injury, you were done. You got Achilles injury, forget about it. You had no chance of coming back.
You're spot on, Anthony. Like, these were career-ending injuries. And now, and I say this literally all the time to athletes, you have to think about this as being career interruptive. Okay, it happened. We're going to navigate you through it, and we got to keep you prepared. We're going to do everything we can that's allowing the body part that's injured to rest and heal. We're going to do everything else that keeps you in the game so that we can get you back as quickly as possible to the way you were before. So you're right. Career-ending injuries, those things were career-ending. You were a pitcher and you had a bum elbow and your career was over. And now if you have a UCL tear, you get a Tommy John surgery, and you're good to go in a year. And obviously, not everybody, but 90+% of these athletes are back. So it's pretty incredible.
I always had a question about Tommy John. Why is it that pitchers come back and their velocity has that dramatic increase?
I love it. That's great. So, that's sort of an urban myth, I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
But, maybe not actually, but what the pitcher remembers is what happened yesterday, right? So the months leading up to the injury, as they're slowly, progressively like damaging this ligament, their velocity does tick down. And their control, they become less accurate, okay? They lose control. So that's what they perceive. And then they go through the surgery and they return to a velocity that's better than they were right before the final event. So they perceive that their velocity is better, their control is more precise. But also, and this is another part of an amazing part of sports medicine, is that during the time frame that they recovered, we work on that. We're not myopic. We used to be myopic. You injured your elbow, we fix the elbow, and we rehab the elbow. But we realized that sport involves your entire body. And so a pitcher that has an elbow injury probably has some shoulder tightness, probably some core weakness, probably has some lower extremity weakness. And so we work on what's called their kinetic chain. You may have heard that phrase before.
Yes.
And so we focus on their kinetic chain. So we actually optimize them. They come out of a recovery period and their entire kinetic chain is better. Their body's better. So they may be achieving higher velocities. Their control may be more precise because they're now better holistically. They're a better athlete. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Actually, it's like ding, ding, the light just went on, and it completely makes sense. I have to laugh. I have an 11-year-old who is a baseball player, 11U player. And like, so I'm around all these parents, and the subject. There's parents that are getting like preemptive Tommy John surgery for like young baseball players, and now I'm thinking that's ridiculous, right? Because what you talk about is exactly right. When this stuff goes, the whole body, the connectivity of it is really what drives them.
I mean, you're touching on another incredibly important topic. We live in this country, Anthony, where like the moment that a baby exits the womb, they have to decide what sport they're going to play, right? And the idea of sports specialization. I mean, we just had Larry Boa on, right? Like, Larry Boa is an amazing athlete, but he was a great athlete in all different sports. Like, he didn't focus on just baseball, when he was like a sixth grader. I mean, he was playing all kinds of sports. So these athletes played multiple sports. And then we've now in this era of sports specialization, and it's like, you can have the most beautiful car, but if you drive it all the time, the tires are going to wear out. So these athletes that play different sports, they use different parts of their bodies through the year, and they didn't fatigue the way the athletes now. So you can have a chronologically young athlete that is physiologically old because they use their arm all the time, 12 months out of the year, over and over and over. So you're speaking to all kinds of things that are really a big part of sports medicine now.
I got to tell you, I could talk to you all day. You are fantastic, man. You really are. I can't wait to talk to you next. I really enjoyed it. It's so interesting and enlightening. I got one thing to say to you. Go Phils, my brother. Go Phils.
Thank you very much, Anthony, okay?
Thanks, brother. We appreciate Dr. Michael Ciccotti, who's amazing. Rothman Institute. We love Rothman Orthopedics. Doc's a mainstay at CBP. He's incredible. Incredible. All right. Oh, man, this is so much fun. There's nothing like Red October. Like diving in, and we got them. If it's Red October, we need good karma.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And the best karma comes from this man, the Skip.
I hear you, Anthony.
Are you ready?
Hey, I'm ready to go, man. I hear you.
I love you. You look great, by the way.
I want. Thank you. I want to hear Rocky played before the game, and during the game I want to hear. I want to play Philadelphia Freedom. So I'm ready to go.
I love it. I absolutely love it. What's this rivalry? Let's just talk about the Mets being hot. I loved your quote too, by the way. When you and I were talking, you go, I go, the Mets are hot, and you went, that's okay. We'll just be hotter.
Exactly. It's all about being positive and ready to go, and loving what you do, and you can't wait to play one game, and then we're gonna play that one, and then we're gonna play some more. And so you don't want to be thinking about nothing negative or nothing like that. Hey, we're going to turn our superstars loose. I've heard. I've heard for 2 years now, like we've got superstar players, so we know now is the time to step up. And last night, the Mets first baseman stepped up.
They did. Alonso hit the opposite field, and it sets it up. I was talking to a scout friend that you know and all, and we were talking about the series, and he goes, listen, the Phillies have advantages everywhere. They're just a much better team than the Mets.
Right. I think so, and I've thought that all along, all this year. I think they are better, but at the same time, when you get in a series and things like that, you always got to be proving yourself. So that's where we're at. I mean, if we want the big flag, well, we got to go get it.
Love the big flag. Got to get the big flag. That's fantastic.
That's right.
How do you feel it? Let's start with the lineup. You were a hitting guru. The Mets are a different challenge, right? When it comes to pitching, they have a lot of soft tossing left-handers, right? Between Minaya, Peterson, Quintana, who went last night. We know about what's the correct approach against those kinds of guys?
Our left-hand hitters definitely, they want to stay on the baseball and actually stay in the middle of the field, and that way they'll cut down on their strikeouts, and they should be able to handle the Mets left-hand pitchers. They got some good ones, but at the same time, like at times we do hit streaks where Schwarber will be hitting the ball good. Harper will be hitting good and things like that. And our left-hand hitters definitely play a big part in our success. And I look for them to step up and have a good series.
Yeah, it's funny you said stay in the middle of the plate. We just had your best buddy on, Larry Boa, and I was talking to him about the Padres Braves game and how Jackson Merrill, who's left-handed, took Fried, who's left-handed, to dead center. And it was like, stay in the middle of the field. I'm thinking the same thing what you just said.
Right, exactly. What's really impressed me with the playoffs is the way Cleveland Indians and Kansas City moves the runners and plays situational baseball. They are the two teams in series right now that play the game what I call completely right, and they're going to be tough. One of those two is going to be tough, but now we got to be ready for this series. We play this series first, and then we will advance on, and I feel real good about it. I feel like it's ideal for Philadelphia and New York. I think the Citizens of the Bank is going to be rocking, and they can turn the microphones up out there too.
Hey, just a couple guys I want to ask you about in the lineup to start. Having JT, and because he was hurt during the season, he's healthy, refreshed. What's that mean? Because JT is a clutch hitter.
Yeah, I think it's this few days that we had off is going to really help JT. And when JT stays on the baseball, stays in the middle of the field, that's when he hits good. And I look, he's been there. All of our players have been there before. They've been there the last 2 years, and they've played under the gun. So they should be able to kind of have self-control and and really into it. And I think that we will have a great series with the Mets. Really.
Yeah.
Then of course, our guys at Harper should be better. Some of those guys. Seasons long and it wears and tears on you. But at the same time, sometimes when you get a couple of days off and things like that, you come back and you're really rejuvenated.
Yeah, you're healed up. You feel better. Your mind gets clear. And like to your point, this group is built for October, right? Like you've gone through 2 long playoff runs. Like their season, it's like your group, right? When you go back from starting from 07 to 8 through 11, you guys have gone through it, and those players, they embrace this spotlight in October.
Exactly. I mean, they definitely welcome it. There's something they celebrate it.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
And you take it one game at a time. Don't get it too ahead of yourself, and you'll be fine. And let your talent play. And we got enough talent on the field to beat anybody. So that's how I feel about it. And actually, I'm really excited about playing the Mets.
What about Wheeler? The fact that Wheeler, they didn't offer him the contract, right? They didn't come back with the second offer, and now he blossomed into a true ace. We were talking about how he reminds us of your man, Doc Halladay. Wheeler is a great story, man, going into tomorrow.
Exactly. He has a chance to step up and really drive a nail in him, I think. Really.
Who's your guy? You have a baseball sixth sense. Who do you feel is going to step up in this series? Who do you like in this series?
I like Castellanos.
Yes.
I like Schwarber. I like Harper. I like Turner. We got four guys that they're different personalities and things like that, and we got 4 guys in our lineup that definitely can light us up. And what I mean, have a big series. And so between those 4, I would say 2 of those guys, definitely got to have a big series.
I like the way Castellanos is locked in right now. I mean, his habits are much better. Like he's not lunging. He's locked in. I mean, and he had a really good year.
Right. When he's slow feet, quick hands, and he stays on the ball good, he's as good as anybody in the game. But when he's jumping and everything like that, he's not too good. So, so we're gonna see what we get.
I love it.
I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, there's something about October baseball and in Philadelphia. You talked about it. That ballpark. How do you describe to people? Because I don't think they understand what it's like at Citizens Bank Park.
Well, basically, when we talk about the noise, I mean that when you're down on the field sitting in the dugout, the noise is loud, and that's all you hear. You just feel like ocean's coming on you or something. It's just and you get up. I mean, you can feel the energy from the stands, and like I've said before, they are the loudest fans and they are the best fans, and they may create the energy for our team to play. I definitely feel like we have home field advantage, and I think I want us to jump out of the gate and win the first game and really to take it to them.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, stamp out whatever they think they got going on. I mean, and by the way, they go with Grimace. Grimace is the Mets like spirit animal right now. Like they love Grimace.
Yeah,
I go, get out of here. He's not even cool to Grimace. We got the Fanatic. All right.
Exactly. Hey, Fanatic is our guy. Really. I mean, that's our guy. I mean, like we go ride him too.
Skip, we love you, man. We have to hear your voice, man, during this thing. Will you be up later in the playoffs?
Yes, I will be when Misty's going in and have her her operation on her hip. Just as soon as she can travel, I'll be up there.
All right, well, that's good. We'll keep the seat warm for you, buddy. Give Missy our love, man. We love you, pal.
Yeah, hey, I'm ready to go.
I'll be talking to you over the weekend. All right.
Hey, let's make red October dark red, right? Okay.
The blood is coming. I love it. I love it. The great Charlie Manuel. Oh man, he just brings a smile to your face, doesn't he? Between him and Bo Adames, like those two together are just special.
So
man.
you just talked with the two best grandpops in the world.
Oh, for sure.
They are. They're the greatest.
Hey, we have a caller to pump us up.
Oh yeah,
Black Gritty.
Oh, we got a little Black Gritty on a Friday, and it's a Phillies Friday from the cheap seats. He's all ready. I love it. What's the message, BG?
Why is anybody on God's green earth in Philadelphia worried about the Mets? The Mets have just split with the Braves. The Mets have just went 3 games with the Brewers. How you doing out there all shucks picking pumpkins? Is that the Mets team I'm worried about? The city that never sleeps because they up worried about the Phillies? The team that everybody keeps telling me, they're 2022 Phillies. No, punk. We're 2022, 2023, 2024, and beyond Phillies. They want to beat us, but they can't. I'm not worried about the Mets. Bleep the Mammy Jammy Mets. Like, I really, cuz this whole city got it. Shut up. Welcome to the jungle of Citizens Bank Park, yo. You're going to come in here and, you're going to buy some tickets. I know you got money to dispose to throw away. Cool. Come in here and get somebody screaming in your face for 2.5 hours and beyond, telling you how much you suck at life and you made a poor decision coming down here to Philadelphia. This isn't the Sixers. This is Citizens Bank Park. Okay? Let me tell you what. Schwarber, I think Schwarber's going nuclear, bro. He's going to be exploded. You ain't never seen nothing like it. Oh, he shouldn't be a leadoff hitter. Well, you shouldn't watch baseball. But guess what? You're going to be doing it this weekend. Saturday? Ha! Let me tell you something, cuz. Wheels up! Let's go! Red October! Beat the Mets!
He got the bell and the red light. I think you love it. That is absolutely incredible.
Let's go, cuz! Let's beat the 10 gummies! Let's get it! I'll talk to y'all.
Love you, brother.
It's like WWE.
I freaking love it. Oh my God. Look at him. He's the greatest.
He's the best, man.
Black Gritty.
Yeah, he needs
oh
to be
my
on
God.
wrestling. Man,
Oh,
that
that's
was
fab-
good.
the red light.
Dude, perfect.
Is unbelievable.
The bell, the towel, everything.
Oh my God.
Well-
that is just
To
awesome.
To stay on that high, I do got a good back in the day moment story that's coming out.
What do we got? Our Rite Aid back in the day moment.
All right, so we're going to go back to 2015. Obviously, listen, Wheeler's going to be a story to one of the stories tomorrow. So, because there's a story that's resurfacing. I don't know if you know Mike Puma from retirement at New York Post, but apparently in one of his books, he talked about in 2015, as we all know, the Mets made the World Series. Zach Wheeler went through his Tommy John. Zach Wheeler wanted to be a part of the, obviously wants to be a part of the World Series. They wouldn't even allow him near the clubhouse.
That's right.
And they wouldn't even give him a seat in the
No,
stadium.
they told him to stay in Port St. Lucie to keep rehabbing.
Yeah, Wheeler is going to, obviously we talked about the contract situation in 2020. Now this, give it to us, Wheeler.
They made him buy his own tickets.
That's insane.
I know. It's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. How would you want one of your young, talented players at the World Series? It makes no sense.
Why the Mets?
It's ridiculous. I got one thing. Let's get it back because their slogan is #OMG. Well, what's our response, Andrew, to OMG?
Give it to us, Frazier.
Show us the OMG.
Yeah.
There you go. STFU. Let's get that hashtag going.
Let's go.
All right? OMG? No. Hashtag STFU.
STFU. I love it.
All
guys.
right?
I'm here for it.
Because that's gonna end. My God. What an incredible moment. Final, quickly, what do you see tomorrow? Because I have a score.
I see I'm going to go 4-1. Phillies win.
3-0.
3-0. 6-1. I got Fightins. There it is. Diehards, thank you so much. We love you. We love our diehards, so we appreciate you. All right, so we enjoy your we always love you coming and hanging out with us. All right, it is a Friday, and all Fridays, again, tonight's a nice, quiet night as we begin Red October. So how about a date night?
Yeah.
All right, so let's get our man in. Todd. That's right. Movie Todd.
Come on. You can't handle the truth.
It's time for TV Todd.
He goes, his Movie Todd, TV Todd. He's the great Todd.
Love it.
Oh, there he is. Red October.
Let's go.
Let's go, baby.
Love it, TV Todd. You're the greatest, buddy. Oh, yeah. Listen to that bell, man. I love that bell. Dude. That's the greatest. Ring the bell.
I love it. Black Gritty got me all fired up.
Yeah.
Listen, we try to do our best. Boa, Black Gritty, right? And, of course, the great Charlie Manning.
That's right.
Perfect show, I say. Into a perfect weekend. 2-0, baby. We're going.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's October, Todd, and October is a month of mystery, and it's a month of fright, right? And so I just love this month. It's like my favorite month of the calendar.
Yeah, for me too. You know how I feel about all the Halloween films and the horror films. I'm such a huge fan of that genre. When you asked me, Anthony, you said, why don't you list a bunch of films and then we'll talk about them each week? I immediately, within 2 minutes, rattled off like my films that were at the top of my brain.
Yeah, we're going to do 5 horror movies each week for the month of October.
Cool.
That Todd, because Todd's first of all, you are a master at that genre. You love that genre, and you produce films in that genre.
That's true, and I immediately listed 42, just rattled off the top of my head.
That's awesome.
And I actually, because I started thinking, so you have classic horror, you have jump scare horror, you have gore, you have thriller, you have zombie films, you have franchise films. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So, found footage, lost footage films. So, yeah, man, I could talk about this stuff forever.
So let's do it. Let's dive into it. I know you'll have your usual picks of the week, but let's go into let's start off on your list, because I'm with you, and I love like different genres of horror, right? Like the more of the occult stuff, which is great. You have all kinds of things. So what do you got for us? Let's go one by one.
Well, I think, I was thinking, I think we may have talked about this before. What is the greatest horror film of all time, right? I think that's where we got to start.
Okay.
And it's not even close. To me, it's not, you asked me this question a million times, I'd give you the same answer. It's The Exorcist. Yes. Hands down, the GOAT of all horror films. And I challenge anyone in your audience to, in the late at night, by yourself, dial that film up, and I'm telling you, to this day, you will not sleep.
No,
I'm out on that.
No. Why would you make you shrug? What do you mean? That's a classic.
I'm more scared of Michael Myers than Linda Blair turning her head and spit and vomit around.
Dude, Spider Walk? Dude, you spit at demonic possession?
I don't spit at it. I actually think of demonic possession. I think the entity is scarier. The old late 70s one. But,
well, listen, here's the thing about that movie. It's not about Linda Blair's head turning around. It's the pacing of that movie, the feeling that the family has as they're downstairs and that stuff's going on upstairs. The tension that builds in that film has never been matched.
Yes.
I mean, it really hasn't.
The pacing a little too slow for me.
Oh my God, dude!
I do agree. I do agree.
What do you agree with?
It's a little slow.
Yeah. Dude, it's incredible. That's what builds the drama. Listen to Todd.
I'm listening.
Todd, knows?
Dude, watch that 12 years old, man. That creates some nightmares, man.
I mean, the scariest thing is the tubular bells. That is that Tangerine Dream? Who does that music of The Exorcist?
Yeah, I forget who does that. There's a Tubular Bells, actually. You remember VG? There was like a remix hit of that in the 80s that was really popular. Yeah, it was really popular. But, listen, I think, JP just said it too. Like, I saw this film when I was a kid, and it stuck with me. But I've gone back to revisit it, and I'm telling you, it still creeps me out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. And how about all the weird things that happened on the set?
Yeah. Well, there's a great podcast about the making of The Exorcist and all that weird stuff. But, again, for me, it's not the crab crawler or the head spinning around or spitting the pea soup, whatever. It's like even at the beginning of the movie when something's happening to her and there's the party going on downstairs and she comes down and she just starts going to the bathroom in the middle of the floor. Everyone is just freaked out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the subtle. I agree. I think you're right. And I don't know, but that stuff, that devil stuff, that freaks me out, man. I think that's scary, that stuff.
If you like the devil stuff, Anthony, then here's another one on my list that is getting some attention again recently. Rosemary's Baby. The original Rosemary's Baby. Again, it's a film that a lot of people would watch today and maybe have the same conversation we're having. Maybe it's not as scary. Maybe the pacing is a little slow. But Rosemary's Baby is the definitive movie where the devil decides to come to Earth and create its spawn, right? And it is the definitive movie for that. And in fact, a new movie is out this week, which is the prequel to Rosemary's Baby, called Apartment 7A. And it's streaming right now. It just launched this week, and it has, I got to pull up her name because I always forget it, Julia Gardner, who was the star of Ozark. Yeah. She's the star of Apartment 7A, and that's streaming this week, and that is the prequel to Rosemary's Baby.
Is it scary? It's got to be scary. It sounds pretty good.
I haven't watched it yet. I'm watching it this weekend.
Oh, good. Wow, that sounds good. Yeah, I think the pacing. Wow, it's VG, man.
Dude, me and Fraser, we're not fans.
Why you want to be lumped with him?
I'm
talking about no taste.
Like the pagan loves Rosemary's Baby. She puts it on constantly. I'm just like,
dude, you're a tough critic with horror.
It's not a scare for me. I don't know why.
The pacing.
I think The Omen. If you're going to talk about creepy kids,
I love The Omen.
The Omen. The Omen is one of my favorite films also. And, we talked a few weeks ago about the prequel that's out right now called First Omen, which I thought was very good.
Yeah, I thought it was solid.
Really good. But the original, man, again, I guess you can look at the original with the same lens as we've been, The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby. Maybe it doesn't hold up for everybody, but for me, that was a super creepy movie.
Oh my God, that movie was unbelievable. That was right up there with The Exorcist. And even the second one where they go back to Trace and they go back to Italy, right? Like they find like the cemetery and the board of jackals are in the grave.
Yeah.
That cemetery with the wild
and
dogs.
he's older in that one. And you got that great the great music like Damien, creepy music.
God.
Yeah, and then the babysitter, the first one, the babysitter, jumps out the window, hangs herself.
That's a classic scene. In fact, there's an homage to that scene in the prequel.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Where do you stand in possession? Like Evil Dead's probably my favorite demonic one. Just being in the woods, and then reading the book.
Evil Dead's amazing.
Necronomicon, yeah,
like that. That one scared me a lot more than The Exorcist.
Yeah, Evil Dead is one of my favorites too. When I go back, I figured maybe we'd start this week talking about some of the classics here, but I grew up in the time period where I really feel this genre really took off. The original Halloween, Friday the 13th, even Nightmare on Elm Street. It all started back then. Yeah. And I love the different iterations of it. Like I am a huge fan of Rob Zombie's Halloween. I love it. Love it. But the original is just perfect.
Oh
Perfect.
my God, yeah. I mean, the music, the score is unbelievable, right? How they shoot it, right? With the fall, the leaves turning, right? Getting ready for Halloween. Like, it feels ominous too.
It does. And you know what's funny? Think about, I just thought about something while we're having this conversation. The music, these classic films had music themes that have stayed with us forever. You don't really have that today. Think about it. I mean, we talked about Jaws, previously, but also think about it. Exorcist, Tubular Bells, the Omen songs, the Halloween. Of course, everyone knows the Halloween song. Even Friday the 13th, where it's like, exactly.
Yeah. That's good. That Halloween is John Carpenter. I mean, he directed it and did the music for it. Pretty wild.
He's amazing. And let me tell you, one of my favorite John Carpenter films is now back streaming, remastered and streaming. The original, The Thing.
Great movie. Hey, if you go back and you watch, because I did like a whole study on Halloween. If you go back and watch it, notice whenever the camera angle is like Michael walking, Carpenter has the camera angle at like the height of a 12-year-old or however old Michael Myers was when he first killed. Like that is when he's walking down the sidewalks. It's always at a low angle, so you're almost in the mindset of like in the viewpoint of a 12-year-old. It's pretty interesting.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, you think about it, like they were creating that genre that still exists today. But The Thing, you guys got to go back and watch The Thing if you haven't seen it. It is one of the best films ever in terms of like a paranoia film, right? Like everybody is paranoid. They don't know this creature that could sort of shapeshift. Anthony, you'll love it because of shapeshifting. They don't know where that creature is. And so the paranoia that's in that film, kind of the same kind of feeling of like Alien, like the isolation, the paranoia. The Thing is one of my favorites. And I'm so happy they're streaming it this month.
Also my favorite as well. The animatronics, like the practical effects in that movie, phenomenal.
Yes. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
That's the thing with like the old like horror films. I'm just not a CGI guy, and I just love like the practical effects that they did like back in those days. Like I like that homemade feel.
Oh yeah. Well, we didn't have, they could get creative. Like even what VG's talking about, having to think more about camera angles and how you can make someone appear. They can appear intimidating or they can appear timid. You can do all that, and people weren't thinking. Now they're always thinking about CGI and special effects, but back then they were thinking about just using the camera,
like Psycho with like the chocolate syrup being like the blood going down the drain. Super cool.
Yeah.
You know what's great? Psycho is one of those films that, so many people watch it now and they're like, what are you talking? That film is lame. It's not scary. It's not this and that. But you have to put yourself back in the day of Alfred Hitchcock and what he was doing to audiences there. He was totally controlling the audiences. They thought this movie was going in one direction and it completely goes in a different direction. Like we talk about modern twists right at the end of films or TV shows, the M. Night twist at the end of a movie, et cetera, et cetera. But what Hitchcock did with Psycho, he twisted that, I don't know, a third into the movie. The lead actress in it is killed in the first third, and the audience was stunned by that.
Yep.
Absolutely stunned by that. And then he took them on that ride that they did not expect. And so obviously it's one of the greatest films of all time.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it was such a big deal being built because she was a huge star at the time, and he just kills her off. Like,
well, how great is it? It was, Janet Leigh, whose daughter is who? Jamie Lee Curtis, the star of all these movies we're talking about. And remember, by the way, Jamie Lee Curtis, she was the star of Halloween, but back then she was the star of almost every horror film that was out. There was Prom Night, Terror Train. I mean, they were coming out every week. I used to go to Roosevelt Mall every Saturday.
Wow.
Every Saturday.
Oh my God.
That's it, babe. I would take the bus as a young kid and go see one of those films every single weekend. Creep Show. I mean, I can go on and on and on.
That's great.
That's fantastic. Hey, real quick before you roll, buddy, do you have any picks that people should watch? Like tonight's a good night as we get ready for Red October. And by the way, both games are at 4:08. So, if you're looking for something at night.
There are a bunch of. I'll do it real quick for you because I know you got to get going here and get off to your baseball show. But in the theater this week, obviously, there's a couple good films to sneak out. The Joker sequel is out today. Everyone's pretty excited about that, except for the critics. But again, never listen to them. JP's Saturday Night is out this weekend.
There we go.
I'm gonna go see it. I'm gonna go see it tomorrow before the Phillies. Check that one out. At home, I'm going to recommend 2 horror films to stream at home that are new. One is called What You Wish For, which I loved. It stars Nick Stahl, who is in one of my favorite horror thriller true crime films of all. And it's an amazing film about this guy who assumes his friend's identity at a high-end kind of chef experience, and the film goes off the rails from there. So it's called What You Wish For on Hulu. And then Stephen King's Salem's Lot was remade and is out on Max starting today.
Oh, that's a scary one. We need to do a whole vampire thing. That's a separate week.
Love vampire.
Yeah, I just watched it last night. It was pretty good.
Hey, Todd, don't forget.
Oh, did you watch it?
I did. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Good.
Love is Blind started season 7. The first 6 or 8 episodes are out. Binge it.
No, not
He's
doing
only
it.
extras when he's in on Love Is Blind.
No, some of those people on Love is Blind are scarier than the chick in The Exorcist.
You know what? And I'll offer one up that's starting Sunday night that I think particularly Cuz and you, VG, are going to be into. The creators of Veep have a new show starting on HBO Sunday night, which I am pumped for. It's called The Franchise, and it's basically a satirical look at these people in the filmmaking world that are stuck in the hell of making a franchise superhero movie.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
that's that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Todd, go Phils, my brother.
Let's do it. Go Phils. We got the Red October stuff all heating up here. Ready to go.
There he is. TV Todd. All right. That's going to do it for us.
Can we have two small little things to get us hyped up?
Let's do it. Let's do
videos.
it. Let's go.
First is JT. He had a little at-bat against our McGill buddy.
Oh!
That's right. Pretty well.
To play just some bookkeeping here. As Real Muto slams one deep left. Philadelphia has the lead.
See some more of that.
That's all right, right? Then we got our buddy Chase with some good words about New York.
The New York Mets. Oh, that's great. I do.
They asked him if he hates the New York Mets.
Do you really hate the New York Mets? I do.
That's right, Chase. That's right.
Oh my God. Those are the 2 greatest dogs ever. Do you really hate the New York Mets? I do.
And he says it's like a psycho serial killer. I do.
I do.
I do.
Oh, wow.
Mets.
I love it. I love it. Well, listen, that's going to do it for us. Man, stay tuned. We'll be doing the baseball show that'll air tonight at 5. All right, so we'll get into that as well. Red October special. Thanks to our friends at Ace Hardware. That's coming up. And, guys, it's going to be a blast, man. It starts. Here. Red October commences. Go Phils. We love you. We'll talk about it Monday.
We all silly like the Mets.